Chapter 936. Most of the people in the inner hall wanted to kill him. Xiao Qin had already made preparations. However, he had not expected that the first one he would face would be the demonic brilliant two elders, who had forced him to flee in a sorry state back then. Within the sword formation, the black sword chi whizzed over, roaring madly. A secret treasure hovered above the heads of the demonic brilliant two elders, blocking the attacks of the death sword chi. The hemp-robed old man held a red flaming fan above his head. Xiao Qin had experienced the might of this fan before. With one fan, the sky changed color, and flames burned for 50 kilometers around. These two were only slightly weaker than great grandmaster-level martial sages, possessing the might of peak king-grade secret treasures. The might of peak king-grade secret treasures could be brought out at 100%. Compared to a regular grandmaster-level martial sage, who could only bring out the might of an ordinary king-grade secret treasure, the difference was like heaven and earth. The middle-aged man's secret treasure was a scarlet military insignia. It contained the souls of many soldiers and materialized strong killing chi. When combined with the army killing fist that he cultivated, its might was unparalleled. The two's life king-grade secret treasures were not defensive secret treasures. They could only be used for offense. When facing the attacks of the death sword chi, the two could not go all out. They had to divert some attention to block these sword chi. If the two had a strong defensive secret treasure, they could focus all the might of their life secret treasure on subduing the white wings. They would not have to put in as much effort as they did now. Whoosh! The white wings looked like they were alive as they flapped gently. Countless bright feathers fell down, giving off a crystalline light. Then, they tossed the demonic brilliant two elders aside. Damn it! Rage flashed on the middle-aged man's face. When he punched, boundless killing chi surged out, shattering the sword chi flying at him. However, the sword chi did not stop. The white wings led the two to a tribulation point in the formation. When they landed, boundless sword chi surged over like a ferocious army of the dead. Illusions appeared before the two's eyes as they got trapped in the ancient underworld river battlefield. The sword chi was like a ferocious army of the dead moving around. Illusions appeared before the two's eyes as they got trapped in the ancient underworld river battlefield. With a thought, Xiao Qin, who was hidden in a small restriction, prepared to make a move to snatch the treasures. However, just as he was about to step out of the door, he sensed 4 powerful auras and retracted his foot. Ha! The demonic brilliant two elders, who are somewhat famous in the profound domain, are only SOSO. We, the Black Mountain 4 bandits, will be taking this peak king-grade magic treasure. Within the death sword formation, 4 old men jumped in. The one in the lead was full of energy, his face was red, his hair was black, and he wore a large black robe with wide sleeves. His cultivation was unfathomable, no weaker than the demonic brilliant two elders. The other 3 old men were slightly weaker. However, they were all grandmaster-level martial sages. Each of them held a high-quality king-grade secret treasure in their hands as they destroyed the death sword chi flying over. Lord Jiu, who was cowering in the restriction, said with a grave expression, "To think that these 4 old fellows came as well." Xiao Qin was surprised. "You know him?" "Ah, I have never seen them before." However, most of the loose cultivators in the primal chaos domain have heard of these 4 old fellows. Their boss, Meng Bai, ranks in the top 20 of the primal chaos domain's evil cultivator ranking. With his demon-subduing staff technique, who knows how many aggrieved spirits he has killed? The primal chaos domain was the lair of all the evil cultivators in the world. For this Meng Bai to rank in the top 20 of the evil cultivator ranking, he definitely had something extraordinary about him. Xiao Qin started calculating in his heart. If it were just the demonic brilliant two elders, he would still be confident of killing them and snatching their treasures. However, now that the Black Mountain 4 bandits had arrived, he would have to plan properly. Xiao Qin withdrew the killing chi in his eyes and focused his spiritual sense in his eyes. He peered through the layers of death sword chi and saw the situation of the sword formation. Bang! Although the demonic brilliant two elders were trapped in the killing illusion formation, they were not ignorant of the situation outside. When they sensed a strong enemy approaching, They stopped hiding their strength. They quickly used their secret treasures and charged out of the illusion formation in one go. Mengbai, you old fogey! How dare you try to snatch treasures from us, the demonic brilliant two elders? Are you tired of living? The middle-aged man had a fiery temper. When he leaped out, he immediately threw a punch. The army-killing fist, which was accompanied by the army of heroic spirits in the scarlet military emblem, was like a huge army charging over. Mengbai chuckled and did not stop, continuing to grab the white wing. Mengbai's three companions flew over and executed their various means. With the combined strength of the three, they blocked the middle-aged man's tyrannical punch. The scarlet heroic spirits scattered in the sword formation. The death sword chi drifting in the air was easily shattered. The 9 black swords that formed the sword formation all trembled slightly. This showed how tyrannical the might of this punch was. When Xiao Chen saw this scene, his eyes suddenly lit up. He stared at one of the black swords for a while before slowly shifting his gaze away. Just as Mengbai was about to grab the white wing, a huge flaming hand with clear patterns descended from the sky and smashed at Mengbai. Bang! Mengbai cursed, and a 2-meter-long black demon slaughtering staff appeared in his hand. He swung it through the air and shattered the huge flaming hand into countless flames. The hemp-robed old man smiled faintly as he held the flaming fan in his hand. Then he blocked Mengbai and said, "Brother Mengbai, it has been more than 10 years since we last met. Your infamy has become even greater. Now, you even dare to snatch the things of us, the demonic brilliant two elders." A ferocious glint flashed in Mengbai's eyes. He smiled sinisterly and said, "You dog! 10 years ago, you beat me up like a dog in the profound domain. Now, I will beat you until you kneel and beg for mercy." Mengbai's figure flashed, and his staff descended from the sky. An incredibly huge, ferocious, ancient Buddhist sect guardian deity appeared behind him. The guardian deity roared at the hemp-robed old man. With one roar, it shattered the death sword chi. The hemp-robed old man remained unruffled. He gently fanned the flaming fan, and 999 flaming tornadoes howled out, blocking the demon slaughtering Vajra's sky-breaking staff strike. Be it the momentum of the burning clouds or the momentum of the demon slaughtering Vajra that Mengbai materialized, they were nearly perfect, possessing great might. When the two forces clashed, the 9 swords buzzed and trembled. The battle was incredibly intense. However, the eyes of the two, everyone's eyes, were fixated on the white wings at all times. Suddenly, an old man leaped out of a restriction at the side, wanting to take advantage of the chaos to reap the benefits. While both sides were fighting excitedly, this old man used a defensive secret treasure and easily caught up to the wings. A look of joy flashed in his eyes as he reached out to grab them. Boom! Both sides stopped fighting at the same time. Immediately, all sorts of heaven-ranked martial techniques and king-grade secret treasures attacked like a gushing waterfall. The old man did not even have time to say a word. The king-grade secret treasure protecting the old man shattered, and his physical body exploded into a scarlet light. The death sword formation blew and swallowed up the old man's life essence. Both sides were old monsters who had lived for hundreds of years. They had long since gained intelligence and knew that they had been in the inner palace for some time. They knew that in this inner palace, someone would jump out and take advantage of the situation. Now that the battle had reached this point, naturally, neither side wanted such a thing to happen. If someone jumped out to take advantage of the situation, both sides would definitely work together to crush that person. When Lord Jiu saw this, his heart thumped heavily. He was flabbergasted. A Grandmaster-level martial sage who can summon wind and rain outside died just like that. This is really cruel. Fortunately, this Lord Jiu did not charge in earlier. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. He also found this somewhat problematic. Unless it was a great Grandmaster-level martial sage or an equal number of people, it would be very difficult to jump in and snatch the treasures. It was not easy to reap the benefits, especially before a group of intelligent old monsters. If one was not careful, one would die without a complete corpse, consigned to eternal damnation. Brother Xiao, let's go and try our luck in there. The earlier death of a Grandmaster-level martial sage had frightened Lord Jiao. However, Xiao Chen shook his head and did not say anything. If he could not clear the stage before him, how could he gain anything by going further in? There were a total of 10 strong restrictions in the inner palace. The competition in each one was extremely intense. Looking at the dried corpses littering the sword formation in front, one could easily imagine what kind of massacre the demonic brilliant two elders had gone through to survive until now. Going forward, the surviving Grandmaster-level martial sages were definitely no weaker than the demonic brilliant two elders. They might even be stronger. Buzz. 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 Another intense clash took place in the formation. The demon subduing Vajra roared ferociously, and its staff swept out in all directions like a mountain, smashing the flames and hurricanes until Wei Wei trembled. The 9 swords vibrated violently once again. They buzzed and emitted a terrifying black sword chi. Now! Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes and punched, shattering the restrictions around him. Then he stepped on an electric light and soared into the sky. Xiao Chen's target was not the White Wings but the king of the sword formation, the Black Death Sword that commanded the other 8 swords. As Xiao Chen charged at the sword, he only glanced at the White Wings on the other side and ignored them. By the time the others noticed him, Xiao Chen's right hand had already grasped the sword hilt firmly. Xiao Chen. A white figure with fluttering long hair and a blue Neptune headscarf on his forehead appeared. His facial features were delicate and handsome. The demonic brilliant two elders immediately recognized Xiao Chen due to his familiar attire. Overwhelming rage and murderous intent immediately blazed in their eyes. When the middle-aged man saw Xiao Chen holding the Black Death Sword, he laughed loudly and said, "What an idiot! The death chi in this sword can instantly drain all cultivators, aside from those of the ghost race and corpse race, into dried corpses." When the hemp-robed old man saw Xiao Chen appear, a murderous intent surged. He wanted to toss aside Meng Bai and eliminate Xiao Chen. However, when the hemp-robed old man saw Xiao Chen recklessly grasping the death sword's hilt, he immediately smiled coldly and stopped moving. He is Xiao Chen. The Black Mountain Four bandits stopped at the same time and looked at this famous person of the Kunlun realm, the descendant of the Qing emperor who would be conferred king in half a year. When their gazes fell on the immortal spirit ring on Xiao Chen's left hand, they all revealed greedy gazes. As they sized up Xiao Chen, they felt that he was a human-shaped treasure trove. Everyone in the world knew that the 3 holy masters did not support Xiao Chen. Now that they killed Xiao Chen, not only could they obtain the treasures on him, but they could also use his head to claim rewards from the various sections. They could also raise their own prestige. Just think about it. If news of killing the descendant of the Qing emperor spread, how glorious would that be? We, the Black Mountain Four bandits, will be taking his head. Meng Bai smiled. The sinister and ugly demon vanquishing Vajra behind him also revealed a horrifying smile. Chapter 937. The hemp-robed old man smiled coldly and said, "Is it your turn to collect it? This brat snatched our primal essence nature pill and has an irreconcilable grudge with us demonic brilliant two elders. You'd best be smarter. This old man will use the full power of the army-killing fist. Even if the 4 of you attack together, you will still be blasted into dregs." The middle-aged man clenched his fist and crackled loudly. Many heroic spirits appeared and disappeared in the scarlet military seal, turning into boundless killing chi. Meng Bai laughed loudly and said, "Do you think I'm a fool? If you really dare to use the full power of the army-killing fist, before you can kill the enemy, you will be turned into an idiot by the killing chi first. This Xiao is really in high demand. I can kill anyone. It seems like anyone can trample on me and become famous. However, are you worthy of taking my head?" Xiao Chen, who was enveloped in a layer of black death chi, suddenly narrowed his eyes as he stared coldly at the 6. The cycle banner in Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness unfurled. The Merak star, which had merged with the death throne, gave off surging death chi like a surging river, flowing endlessly. This deathly aura instantly blocked the deathly aura coming from the longsword. Then, it flowed into the longsword ceaselessly. Meng Bai and the others immediately felt that something was wrong. They saw the other 8 swords buzzing, and the black sword chi drifting in the formation slowly grew stronger, nearly turning solid. Oh no! This brat is trying to strengthen the might of the sword formation to trap us. The hemp-robed old man's expression changed. Originally, he only needed to use the flaming fan to easily shatter the sword chi. Now, it was incredibly difficult to deal with. He had to repeat it 3 to 5 times before he could destroy the sword chi flying over. Kill him. We can't let him continue like this. The others felt that something was wrong. They either took out their secret treasures or directly sent out their killing moves. All sorts of attacks flew at Xiao Qin, giving off a terrifying might and multicolored light. With so many Grandmaster-level martial sages attacking together, even with Xiao Qian's current physical body, if he got struck, he would end up no better than the old man who had been blasted into dregs earlier. However, they did not know that the sword in Xiao Qian's hand was the king of the swords in this sword formation. It commanded the 8 swords. They would have to face sword chi that was 10 times or even 100 times more terrifying than the sword formation. The death chi in the cycle banner poured in endlessly. The sword in Xiao Qian's hand emitted a black light that soared into the sky, suppressing the glow of the white wings in the formation. Chi-chi-chi. Sword shadows erupted like a mountain torrent. Loud rumbling sounds could be heard, along with the cries of countless vengeful spirits. When the 10,000 swords merged together, they destroyed the killing moves of Meng Bai and the others, forcing them to retreat in a sorry state. Xiao Qin, have a fair fight with me if you have the guts. I'll blow you up with one punch. The middle-aged man roared furiously. His army-killing fist was a close-range combat technique. In the previous wave of attacks, he was the one who was injured the most by the death sword. The hemp-robed old man and Meng Bai's expressions were extremely unsightly as they faced the increasingly sharp death sword chi in the air. Looking at Xiao Qin, he gnashed his teeth, wishing he could tear Xiao Qin into pieces and grind his bones into dust. The cultivations of the other 3 Black Mountain 4 bandits were weaker in the first place. Their situation was even worse. Xiao Qin smiled coldly and said, "A fair fight? To think that you are not embarrassed to say that. Back then, who was the one who worked together to bully me, willing to be Mr. Qin's lackey? Today, you demonic brilliant 2 elders only have yourselves to blame. Just wait to be sucked dry by the death sword chi." Facing the increasingly stronger death sword chi, the situation of the 6 people trapped in the formation became increasingly difficult. Many sword wounds appeared on their bodies, and a significant amount of their life force was immediately sucked away. Xiao Qin frowned slightly. Just as he was about to add more force and pour in all the remaining death chi in the cycle banner to refine the 6 to death, a strong aura appeared in the inner hall. In the inner hall, a strong aura was flying towards them rapidly. Black light soared into the sky, and the vengeful spirits howled. Even the treasure light was suppressed. It would be hard for the cultivators not to be curious. Xiao Qin decisively stopped, giving up on this excellent opportunity to kill the 6. He turned into a flash of saber light and charged into the formation. Then, he made a move at lightning speed and grabbed the white wings in the air. After losing the death chi that Xiao Qin poured in, the might of the sword formation immediately slowed. The 6 took advantage of this opportunity to attack together. Boom! The 6 broke through the death chi filling the air and charged out of the restriction. Their gazes turned cold. Ignoring their injuries, they chased after Xiao Qin. Whoosh! The 6 had just taken one step when a beam of 3-colored starlight flickering with the power of massacre, death, and ruin suddenly shot out from the direction Xiao Qin had taken. The starlight was like a pillar. With a loud bang, it knocked the 6 people to the ground. How reckless! Do you really think that I do not dare to kill you? A cold voice came from the front. Xiao Qin had returned while holding the cycle banner. When he saw the death sword chi injuring the 6 people to the point where their life force was drained, he shouted coldly. The 6 were startled. They suddenly recalled that they were not even at half their peak state. They had not completely eliminated the death chi in their bodies. They were probably not a match for Xiao Qin. They all stood up and retreated, riding on their king-grade secret treasures. Xiao Qin purposely scared the 6 away. Then Lord Zhou sneakily came out and said, "Brother Xiao, you are really something. You managed to chase away 6 Grandmaster-level martial sages." Xiao Chen put away the cycle banner and said, "Let's go quickly. Someone is coming." Clearly, Xiao Chen did not charge back on a whim. Instead, he wanted these people to follow him. The experts who came after hearing the news would definitely give chase as well. Using Thunder Dragon steps, Xiao Chen and Lord Jiao quickly left this place together. Soon, a large group of people arrived. Without exception, they were all Grandmaster-level martial sages. Among them, there was no lack of experts on the level of the demonic brilliant 2 elders. The few of them looked at the empty sword formation, and a look of pity appeared on their faces. They were too late. Someone had finally managed to subdue one of the 10 top-grade king-grade magic treasures. After walking for a long time, Xiao Chen and Lord Jiao arrived at a small restriction. When they saw that no one was chasing them, they heaved a sigh of relief. With a flip of his hand, that pair of white wings appeared in Xiao Chen's hand. When the wings spread out, they were 10 meters long. Dense feathers covered the frame of the wings, at least 10,000 of them. Xiao Chen looked carefully. The crystalline white feathers gave off a faint white light. A gentle breeze swayed gently between the wings. Each feather had small inscriptions carved on it, and immortal qi flowed through them. Xiao Chen felt the taste of freedom. It was like as long as he wore these wings, he could come and go as he pleased, no matter how big the world was. Suddenly, Xiao Chen exclaimed softly and sent his spiritual sense into the feathers. Then, his expression changed slightly. Each feather was actually a small king-grade secret treasure. That was to say, these wings were made of tens of thousands of small king-grade secret treasures. When Xiao Chen looked at the frame of the wings, he found that there were at least 1,000 kinds of divine materials, each weighing 5 tons. The white-robed king Xiao Chen truly lives up to his reputation. With his own strength, he managed to snatch important treasures from the hands of the demonic brilliant 2 elders and the Black Mountain 4 bandits. He even scared them into not daring to give chase. He truly lives up to his reputation as an outstanding talent who even dares to kill before Emperor Wu. Xiao Chen's expression turned cold as he quickly put away the white wings and focused. He had already been very careful along the way. Furthermore, he had used his spiritual sense to scout. How could someone still follow him? The restriction in front broke, and a mirror-like water curtain appeared in Xiao Chen's vision. 2 youths and an old man walked out of the water curtain with large strides. Of the 2 youths, Xiao Chen recognized one. That was the Xianshui sect's Ji Zong, who once chased after Xiao Chen. Later, a Grandmaster-level martial sage made a move to scare Ji Zong away. The handsome person beside Ji Zong walked out of the water curtain. The water curtain behind him turned into a smooth mirror and landed in his palm. The profound water palace's people? The Xianshui sect's sect master had issued a warrant for Xiao Chen's arrest in the heavenly starry ocean. It was not strange for a disciple of the sect to come to seek revenge. The method of hiding their auras should be the work of the person beside Ji Zong. Ji Zong was not a problem. Xiao Chen could destroy him in one move. The slightly problematic ones were the youth beside him and the blue-robed old man from the Xianshui sect. However, they were just a little problematic. As Xiao Chen sized up the other party, the youth beside Ji Zong sized him up as well, revealing a strong fighting spirit in his eyes. That youth shook his head slightly and said, "A peak rank 3 sage body, the cultivation of a Grandmaster-level martial sage, many treasures on you, unparalleled luck. How unfortunate! How unfortunate that you will die in the end, at the hands of me, Yao Chen." Xiao Chen smiled coldly in his heart. He had seen narcissistic people before, but he had never seen someone as narcissistic as this. Even Di Wuk would not dare to say such things. The people of the Xianshui sect are all so arrogant. Let's see how capable you are. Xiao Chen's footsteps flashed, and a trembling saber hum resounded in the air. A bright moonlight appeared on Xiao Chen's body. With his saber soul, a powerful sharpness spread out. Xiao Chen arrived riding the wind. With the support of his saber soul, the sharpness seemed solid, piercing through space. When Yao Chen saw Xiao Chen suddenly erupt, he frowned slightly. Shock flashed in his eyes, but he did not move. Xiao Qin looked coldly at Xiao Qin. In his eyes, Xiao Qin was a dead man. The blue-robed old man behind Xiao Qin took a step forward. With just one step, a thunderous sound of water resounded in the inner hall. The formless waves turned into huge pressure. The air became like waves, pressing down on Xiao Qin. The air was like water, and Xiao Qin looked like a reflection in the water. His body turned blurry and hazy. Within the water, Xiao Qin found it difficult to move. It was like he was moving backward, distancing himself from Yao Qin. That's not right. This old man's strength is at most on the level of the demonic brilliant two elders. How can he give me such great pressure? Xiao Qin calmly analyzed in his heart. Then he looked around and saw Yao Qin standing calmly at the side, as well as the mirror flowing with a watery light in Yao Qin's palm. The mirror reflected a holy river. It looked like a berserk dragon surging and roaring endlessly, crossing the entire world in the mirror. The problem was in this mirror. Bang! In the wave-like space, the blue-robed old man looked very relaxed. He raised his hand and punched, clashing with Xiao Qin's move that suppressed his sharpness, sending him flying. Xiao Qin's bones creaked as if they would be crushed by the waves at any moment. Chapter 938. Ji Zong smiled and said, "This time, my senior brother brought the Xian River mirror. It can summon our Xianshui sect's secret treasure, the Xian River Phantom. Xiao Qin, do you still think my senior brother is arrogant? After killing you, my name will spread throughout the world, and I'll plunder your karmic luck and treasures. Then, I'll take all the treasures in this sky palace and complete my senior brother's unparalleled ambition." During the immortal epic, there was a river in the heavenly court that the immortals built. It was as famous as the underworld river of the netherworld purgatory, the Profound River. When the immortal epic ended, the Profound River broke into several pieces and landed in the Kunlun realm. Many famous rivers were once the Profound River. In the ancient era, the Xianshui sect's sect master had obtained a profound river, which had fallen in quality and was not too powerful. He refined it into an emperor-grade secret treasure and gained some of the might of the immortal Tao Profound River. If the sect's disciples held the Profound River mirror, they could summon the image of the Profound River and bring out some of this emperor-grade secret treasure's power. Under the Dusk River's pressure, Xiao Qin couldn't even use half of his strength. If it weren't for his powerful body, he would have been beaten to death by the blue-robed elder. Yao Qin was also secretly alarmed. His master had once said that as long as this mysterious river mirror was activated, a grandmaster wouldn't be able to last more than 10 breaths inside. Only a great grandmaster could break free from it. As of now, Xiao Qin was only a peak medial grade martial sage. Unexpectedly, he could endure for so long. Amid the heavy waves, Xiao Qin felt intense pain all over his body. However, his heart was as clear as a mirror. He was a bladesman who had condensed a saber soul. After transcending the lightning tribulation and heart tribulation, with just a thought, he would be able to get rid of all the distracting thoughts. Fear, cowardice, and panic would not appear on him. If my saber soul improves further and reaches small perfection, I can easily break through this profound river image. If my physical body improved further, reaching rank 4 sage body, this image would not be able to suppress me. However, it was a pity that they were still lacking a little, allowing these fellows to be so pleased with themselves. Could it be that he would have to use the thunder source here? Right now, Xiao Qin's cultivation had already reached peak medial grade martial sage. With the purple thunder divine incantations accumulations, he could compete with grandmaster level martial sages. As long as Xiao Qin took the final step and broke through the bottleneck of medial grade martial sage, the image of an emperor-grade secret treasure would be easy to deal with. This easily broke the old man's martial technique, causing him to vomit another mouthful of blood and take 2 steps back. The grayish-white destroy character and the black die character carried heavy starlight as they struck the old man's body, thoroughly grinding down his sharpness. The die character gathered dense death chi and sucked away a lot of the old man's life force. His complexion aged at least 10 years. Xiao Qin shook the tip of the banner and pierced through the old man's chest, killing him. The watery screen behind Xiao Qin grew dimmer. Yao Chen's blurry image said, "Xiao Chen, just you wait. On the day of your king conferral ceremony, I will definitely bring the profound river mirror and give you a big surprise." Thirsty. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand, and starlight gathered once more. 7 stars flickered, and the cycle banner flew towards Yao Chen at the speed of a meteor. This startled Yao Chen, who was in the watery screen, and he quickly pulled Ji Zong over to shield him. A miserable shriek resounded as the watery screen vanished with Yao Chen. The cycle banner pinned Ji Zong to the ground. He held onto the banner pole with both hands, dying with a remaining grievance. With this battle over, Xiao Chen relaxed. He immediately felt fatigued. The injuries suppressed by the profound river mirror earlier flared up like a torrential storm. After putting away the spatial rings of the two, Xiao Chen took out a rank 9 medicinal pill from Mr. Qin's collection and swallowed it. Then he started to recover from his injuries. With the strength of Xiao Chen's physical body, as long as no one disturbed him, he could recover to his peak in less than an hour. If Xiao Chen had not given all the sage-grade medicinal pills to Yi Chen, his recovery would have been much faster. Just as Xiao Chen's injuries were about 80% healed, Lord Jiao, who had fled when he saw that the situation was bad, rushed back and said, "Little brother Xiao. Little brother Xiao. That fellow Yi Chen is about to be played to death by Di Wuk." Xiao Chen's eyes widened, and a brilliant light flashed in them. He noticed that Lord Jiao said, "playing," and not "fighting." The difference of one word meant 2 different endings. Ignoring the fact that his injuries were still 20% healed, Xiao Chen stood up and took out the white wings. Then, he sent his spiritual sense into them and placed his spiritual mark on them. The wings spread out and turned into thousands of pure white feathers that entered Xiao Chen's back and shoulder blades. In that instant, Xiao Chen felt like his body was as light as the wind. Every cell of his body, his flesh, his bones, and his skin became light. With a pew sound, he soared into the air. The 10-meter-long wings on Xiao Chen's back spread out, and a cool breeze circled around Xiao Chen, giving off a crystalline white light. Freedom. This word suddenly appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. The wind was calling out to him. It was like there was no place in the world that he could not reach. Lord Jiao, who was at the side, was stunned. He raised his head and looked at Xiao Chen in the air. Xiao Chen was clearly very close, but the other party seemed to be infinitely far away, going with the wind. This freedom wings also contained a magic skill. Xiao Chen rejoiced in his heart. He checked it and found that this magic skill was called So Close Yet Worlds Apart. Even the ends of the world were within reach. However, even if Xiao Chen drained all his magic energy, he would not be able to do it. As for how far this magic skill could be, it would depend on Xiao Chen's strength and how much magic energy he was willing to expend. Xiao Chen felt his magic energy flowing like a river in his sea of consciousness. He did not delay any longer. He grabbed Lord Jiao and said, "Show me the way." A cool breeze blew. Under Lord Jiao's guidance, Xiao Chen relied on the freedom wings to pass through several small restrictions, heading forward unobstructed. No, there are too many restrictions. I still have to pass through several large restrictions with peak king grade magic treasures. Given my identity, I will definitely be discovered. At that time, I will attract even more trouble. Xiao Chen thought for a while. Then, he quickly burned his magic energy and activated the magic skill of the freedom wings, so close yet worlds apart. The space in front of Xiao Chen folded. Many scenes of Grandmaster-level martial sages fighting over magic treasures and cultivators dying miserably in restrictions appeared. These scenes were like pictures flashing before Xiao Chen's eyes. Suddenly, Yi Chen's figure appeared. Di Wuk knocked Yi Chen into the air with a palm strike. Just as Yi Chen was about to land, a palm strike from a distance sent him flying again. Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat, and the moving scenes froze here. Then, he took a step forward and used So Close Yet Worlds Apart. He passed through many restrictions of various sizes and stepped out. When Lord Jiao landed on the ground, the folded space bounced back. Lord Jiao was curious and wanted to take a look. Xiao Chen said directly, "Don't look back. Be careful not to pull you in, and your blood will splash for 50 kilometers around." This startled Lord Jiao, and he quickly pulled his head back. After withdrawing the freedom wings, The two of them hid in a small restriction and passed through the fog. Now they could clearly see Di Wuk, Tian Yushi, Xiao Qinghan, Xia Dongyang, and the others floating in the air 5 kilometers ahead. The others did not make a move. Only Di Wuk remained expressionless. Occasionally he pointed with his finger, and a golden sword light shot out from his fingertip. In the next moment, a bloody hole appeared in Yi Chen's chest. 9 finger-sized holes appeared around Yi Chen's heart. They were transparent, allowing wind to enter and exit. Lord Jiu could not help but say, "When I looked at him earlier, there were only 3 sword holes in his chest. Now they are all gaping." Yi Chen, who was in the air, was in a sorry state. Blood continuously flowed out of his mouth. However, he did not show any sorrow on his face. Instead, he looked incredibly happy. He laughed loudly and said, "Di Wuk, even if you kill me, you cannot change this fact. You even dare to humiliate the divine daughter. Now, you are speaking such arrogant words. I will take your head on behalf of the divine son." A Frost Moon Palace disciple came out from behind Xiao Qinghan, trying to curry favor with Di Wuk. Xiao Qinghan's expression changed drastically. He tried to pull that disciple back, but he could not. Chapter 939. The divine daughter Tian Yushi's expression, which had not changed for 10,000 years, also showed a strange change. A rare murderous intent flashed in her eyes. Di Wuk turned his head back and glanced at that Frost Moon Palace disciple. Then his surging mental energy turned into 2 beams of golden light. Pu Si. Then it pierced through this person's eyes and head. The Frost Moon Palace disciple screamed miserably and fell to the ground. Then, the Frost Moon Palace disciple's corpse was crushed into powder by a restriction. The few old men of the Frost Moon Palace frowned slightly but did not say anything. Based on their expressions, they seemed to be blaming this disciple for being insensible. Xiao Chen could not help feeling suspicious. What exactly did Yi Chen do to provoke Di Wuk into such a rage? Back then, when Xiao Chen kicked Di Wuk at the Sage Mark Monument, he had not seen Di Wuk's expression so sinister and terrifying. Suddenly, the light in the vast palace hall dimmed. Xiao Chen could not even see his own fingers when he stretched them out. Along with the light, the sounds of intense fighting in the inner hall came to a stop. The sky became terrifyingly dark. Oh no! Xiao Chen's heart sank. Di Wuk is going to kill. This is the instant initial knowledge sword. Xiao Chen leaped up and passed through the restriction. Using Thunder Dragon steps, he arrived before Yi Chen. A spot of light lit up on Di Wuk's fingertip. Instant initial knowledge was the first flash of light in the world. According to the legends of the deity race, there was originally no light in the world. When a deity appeared, he said, "Let there be light," and there was light in the world. The instant initial knowledge sword was a martial technique derived from this legend. When the light of the world first appeared, there would be light. It materialized the power of creation, unblockable. When the light first appeared, the divine kingdom behind Di Wuk gave off a bright light. Boundless prayers flew out and entered the golden ring of light behind Di Wuk. The sword light tore through the air, and the surroundings were filled with praises. Many different worlds appeared in the air as the sword light flew over. After 3 years, Di Wuk's instant beginning sword had become so powerful that it made people tremble. It had undergone a heaven-toppling transformation. Xiao Chen did not dare to be careless. He circulated all the power of laws in his body, and a bright moon rose into the sky behind him. With the addition of the saber soul, Xiao Chen turned into a saber and materialized the flawless saber Dao. The immortal will of thunder pressed down on Xiao Chen's body, and his saber soul turned into a powerful saber intent radiating from every part of his body. His long hair and white robes fluttered. The world was filled with the sound of sabers humming. Under the moonlight, Xiao Chen was like a perfect treasured saber. He also stretched out his hand and pointed. The bright moon disappeared and appeared at the tip of his finger. It turned into a flawless blade light and went up against Di Wuk's sword light. The instant the 2 lights clashed, all the darkness in the world vanished. The sword light and the saber light clashed intensely. Shock waves spread out, shaking the entire palace and causing it to tremble intensely. Countless cultivators died miserably in the restrictions because of this sudden change. The two forces fought to a draw. Eventually, they both vanished, restoring peace to the world. However, the people behind Diwuk and the Grandmaster-level martial sages who were attracted by the show were incredibly shocked, their hearts churning endlessly. Someone blocked Diwuk's instant beginning sword. I heard that no more than 5 people of the younger generation can block Diwuk's instant beginning sword. Even the older generation Grandmaster-level martial sages do not dare to receive this sword strike. This person is dead for sure. He blocked Diwuk's killing intent. No one can save him. Discussions resounded. When the cool breeze blew aside Xiao Chen's hair and the crowd recognized Xiao Chen's face, they were even more shocked and incredulous. It's Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen, who is causing a huge commotion in the primal chaos domain, actually rushed over to seek his own death. Instead of hiding properly and waiting for his king conferral half a year later, he actually ran over to Diwuk. Xiao Qinghan and Xia Dongyang will not be able to outlast him. Furthermore, those loose cultivators are all eyeing his head. After recognizing Xiao Chen, Xia Dongyang and Xiao Qinghan were different from the shock of the others. They instantly attacked. 3,000 figures came out of the palace behind Xiao Qinghan. Each figure materialized a different killing move. A cold moon rose up, and Xiao Chen shouted like he was a sovereign king. The 3,000 figures charged at Xiao Chen with a destructive aura. Xia Dongyang tossed out an ancient bell. Bell chimes spread out, giving off rings of blue light that pressed down on Xiao Chen at the same time. On the other hand, Diwuk muttered to himself for a while, his expression turning sullen. He did not rush to make a move, as if he was preparing for something. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and casually recognized the 10,000 beast cauldron. Then he used his law energy to drive it. Many corporeal ancient mutated beasts flew out of the cauldron. A total of 1,000 beasts blocked Xiao Qinghan's 3,000 killing moves. With a flip of Xiao Chen's hand, the cycle banner flickered with 3-colored starlight. Massacre, death, and ruin circled the banner pole. As the banner unfurled, a vast astral energy surged out. The cycle banner swung the tip of the banner and knocked over the ancient bell. The bell chimes turned chaotic as it tumbled towards Xia Dongyang. Let's go! Xiao Chen raised his hand and stared at the killing moves of the 2 outstanding talents of the primal chaos domain. Then he grabbed Yi Chen and prepared to leave. You want to leave? To think that you want to save the person that I, Diwuk, want to kill. After not seeing you for 3 years, you are getting bolder. That Diwuk snorted coldly, and a golden divine kingdom appeared above Xiao Chen's head. It gave off a golden light that filled the sky, and a pressure even greater than that of the profound river image pressed down on Xiao Chen. The divine country descended. Within the tens of thousands of rays of light, praises sounded continuously. This was a legendary country with 3,000 temples that nurtured countless believers. The space seemed like a dangerous building that would collapse at any moment, on the verge of collapse. Like the profound river that Yao Chen summoned, this divine kingdom was an image of an emperor-grade secret treasure. Compared to the profound river, the divine kingdom was also an emperor-grade secret treasure, much stronger. The Xinshui sect only had one segment of the profound river. Furthermore, it had lost much of its mysterious aura. The Xinshui sect's founding sect master had refined it himself with divine materials. However, the divine kingdom was something that the deity race had brought from a world outside the Kunlun realm. It had been passed down since ancient times, with an unknown history. By relying on the boundless power of faith, it had grown to an unfathomable level. Diwuk's personal strength was much higher than that of the Xinshui sect's Yao Chen. Hence, he could bring out the might of the emperor-grade secret treasure image. The moment the divine kingdom appeared, everyone looked at Xiao Chen as if he were a dead man. The surrounding space had already been locked down. No matter how powerful one's movement technique was, one could not escape. Xiao Chen, let go of this person. As long as you are willing to participate in the Heroes Convention 2 years from now, I, Diwuk, will help you settle all your grudges. Everything was under control. Seeing Xiao Chen being suppressed by the divine kingdom, Di Wuk took the opportunity to extend an invitation. He continued, "No one has ever been able to save the people I want to kill. You Xiaoqin are no exception. You'd best not do anything stupid." Under the heavy pressure, Yi Chen's already crippled body became even weaker. A smile appeared on his pale face as he said, "I always said that you were a coward, an outstanding talent in vain. Now, it looks like I was gravely mistaken. We have only met a few times. This Yi is already satisfied that you helped me block a sword strike. Just agree to it." With every word Yi Chen said, he vomited twice as much blood. Xiaoqin gestured for Yi Chen not to speak. Then he smiled faintly and said, "It seems like no one can stop me from saving the people I want to save. I do not want to run to the northern sea to find your elders to repay the favor you owe me. Let's go." His hair fluttered in the wind and his robes fluttered non-stop. However, Xiaoqin ignored Di Wuk's words. He could not be bothered to reply at all as he reached out and grabbed Yi Chen. Two pairs of pure white wings unfurled on Xiaoqian's back. Boundless voyager, so close yet worlds apart. Xiaoqian's magic energy burned endlessly. Scenes flashed before his eyes, extending all the way to the palace gates. When the scene stopped, Xiaoqian stepped out. Space folded under Xiaoqian's feet. When the divine kingdom landed, Xiaoqian had already left the heavenly palace. With one step, he could reach the ends of the world. He was as free as the wind. No one in the world could stop him. Who said that you, Di Wuk, cannot block the instant of beginning sword? Who said that you, Di Wuk, cannot save the person you want to kill? I blocked the sword and I saved the person. What can you do to me? The place fell silent. No one dared to speak. Di Wuk had named a person he wanted to kill. However, that person managed to escape from under his nose. Furthermore, that person had taken out the divine kingdom image and left openly, completely ignoring Di Wuk's invitation. Right now, Di Wuk was very famous. Everyone in the world knew about the hero's convention. He was in the limelight, suppressing Chu Xiong. Be it the son of the human race's 3 holy masters, the fiend race's 2 stars, the ghost race's Princess Qing Cheng, the corpse race's heavenly corpse inheritor, or the newly born ancient race geniuses, they were all somewhat inferior to Di Wuk. Even before Di Wuk, Xiaoqin was somewhat weaker. However, the person who kicked him 3 years ago ruthlessly slapped him in the face 3 years later. The people who knew why Di Wuk wanted to kill Yi Chen showed extremely strange expressions. Di Wuk's usually calm expression also turned sullen. Xiaoqin stepped forward and stood on the divine kingdom image. The golden rings of light behind him glowed, looking very dazzling. Xiaoqian's eyes shone with golden light as he looked 50 kilometers away. He instantly caught sight of Xiaoqian's figure. Then he shouted coldly, "After him!" After putting away the divine kingdom, Xiaoqian's figure flashed as he charged forward. The small restrictions blocking the way scattered one by one, and the 13 keepers followed closely behind. Several unlucky cultivators seeking treasures got in the way. Before they could figure out what was going on, they died mysteriously. The divine daughter, Tian Yoshi, sighed and quietly followed after them. Xia Dongyang looked around the inner hall and asked Xiao Qinghan, "Should we give chase?" There were still a few Peak King grade magic treasures in the inner hall that no one had claimed. Xia Dongyang's intention was to go and help or stay here to hunt for magic treasures. Xiao Qinghan said after some thought, "Let's follow. This heavenly palace should not be the heavenly palace in the center of the formation. The magic treasures there are peak ones. In my opinion, the pair of wings on Xiaoqian's back is the most valuable." Xia Dongyang smiled gently and said, "Great minds think alike. This Xiaoqian killed many disciples of our sections. We cannot let him leave no matter what." There were too many reasons to kill Xiaoqian. However, to these outstanding talents, there was only one true reason. Chapter 940. They wanted to prevent Xiaoqian from being conferred king, to prevent a second Qing emperor from rising up. Just think about the era when the Qing emperor was in and how sorrowful the outstanding talents of his generation were. They were not willing to let this happen. They were not willing to see one person shine too brightly, overshadowing all of them. Under the lead of the two, the experts of the Heavenly Music Sect and the Frost Moon Palace quickly followed. The cultivators who rushed over after hearing the news discussed it for a while. Many of them could not resist the curiosity in their hearts and followed. The clash between the Qing Emperor's descendant and Di Wuk was not something that could be seen on a daily basis. Furthermore, everyone knew that the true treasures of this immortal sect remnant were not for them to take. With one step, Xiaoqun arrived outside the Heavenly Palace. He did not stop as he controlled the Freedom Wings. He used so close yet worlds apart 3 more times, draining his magic energy. Only then did he stop and heave a sigh of relief. Without saying anything, Xiaoqun swallowed a medicinal pill and sat down cross-legged. Then he circulated the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation and quickly replenished his exhausted spiritual energy. Yi Chen's injuries were even more severe. The 9 sword holes in his chest looked very ghastly. Xiaoqun did not know how he had offended Di Wuk. After 15 minutes, Xiaoqun recovered 30% of his magic energy. Then he opened his eyes. He did not want to waste any more time. This was not truly safe yet. Yi Chen had already changed his clothes, and his complexion looked much better. However, if he wanted to recover, he would not be able to do so quickly. Do you have any more sage-grade medicinal pills for treating injuries? Xiaoqun asked. Yi Chen smiled gently and said, "Many thanks for Brother Zhao's concern. However, sage-grade medicinal pills for treating injuries are no longer effective for me." "That you are overthinking. I only recovered 80% of my physical injuries before I attacked again. I'm asking you if you have any. I need them for myself." Yi Chen was slightly stunned. Then he smiled and said, "No more. I already used up the 9 sage-grade medicinal pills. Thank you. If not for your 9 medicinal pills, allowing me to attack 9 times, I really would not have been able to return that palm strike." Xiaoqun was a little speechless after hearing this. "Your obsession is really deep. Just for 1 palm strike, you fall into this state." Yi Chen recovered his usual expression, revealing his sharpness. "That is natural. I have always been the one sneak-attacking others in the Northern Sea. When have I ever been sneak-attacked? Furthermore, the one who did it was a woman. If I do not vent my anger, I will not feel at ease." Bang! Suddenly, a hole appeared in the ground. Yi Chen immediately placed his right hand on his saber hilt. However, Xiaoqun calmly stopped him. Xiaoqun saw Lord Jiu sneakily coming out from inside. He chuckled and said, "My heart is indeed at ease now. Even the wind can come in and out." Yi Chen was clearly flabbergasted. He did not expect that this scoundrel that he looked down on could actually catch up to Xiaoqun's freakish speed. Xiaoqun was not surprised at all. Lord Jiu's ability to dig holes was amazing. It was not inferior to the immortal technique, the earth escape technique. As long as there was ground under his feet and Lord Jiu remembered his scent, it would not be strange for him to catch up. "Quickly, tell this Lord Jiu how you offended Di Wuk, angering him to such an extent," Lord Jiu asked impatiently as he came out. His beady eyes had a smile on them. Xiaoqun revealed a curious expression. He also wanted to know how Yi Chen offended Di Wuk. After all, Di Wuk's mental state was no weaker than Xiaoqun's. How could Di Wuk kill that Frost Moon Palace disciple who jumped out just because of Yi Chen's gaze? Di Wuk was truly angry. When Yi Chen mentioned this matter, he appeared extremely innocent. "How would I know? His wife sent a palm strike at my chest. Naturally, I had to return the favor, ruthlessly sending a palm strike at his wife's chest." The moment Yi Chen said that, Lord Jiu and Xiaoqun were stunned for a long time. This was especially so when they saw Yi Chen's innocent expression. They did not know what to say. "What's wrong? She sent a palm strike at my chest. Isn't it normal for me to send a palm strike at her chest?" When Yi Chen saw the two's expressions, he could not help but appear even more innocent. Lord Jiu smiled wretchedly and asked, "How was it? Did you feel anything when you sent a palm strike at the Divine Daughter's chest?" Yi Chen raised his head and thought for a long time. Then he answered honestly, "Very big, very soft, very pleasurable." Xiaoqun could no longer hold it in. He laughed loudly and said, "Everyone says that I, Xiaoqun, am very bold, even daring to mess with Diwook. However, they do not know that you are the real awesome one. Very big, very soft, very pleasurable. Ha! You touched the divine daughter's chest and still have an innocent expression. Only you can do that. I Xiaochen rarely admire others. From today onwards, there will be one more, Yichen. Lord Jiu laughed even harder as he fell to the ground, continuously saying that it was very big, very soft, and pleasurable. This confused Yichen. He could not understand what was going on with the two. Is it very funny? Just at this moment, a voice that sounded like it came from gritted teeth rang out. The three turned their heads and saw Diwook standing there for a long time with a dark expression and a frosty expression. Is it funny? To Lord Jiu and Xiaochen, the chest of the aloof divine daughter was touched. Furthermore, it was done in front of Diwook. Furthermore, it was done by a simple-minded person like Yichen. Naturally, it was funny. Naturally, it was funny. However, it was not that funny for Diwook. The deity race's divine son and divine daughter would definitely become the future divine emperor and imperial concubine. For Diwook, his fiancée being humiliated in front of everyone was a great humiliation. Compared to this, the kick that Xiaochen kicked Xiaochen at the Sage Mark Monument was nothing. Based on Diwook's expression, Xiaochen knew that he had been here for a long time. He probably heard Yichen saying that it was very big, very soft, and pleasurable. Xiaochen could guess how angry and conflicted this outstanding talent of the younger generation was right now. When Lord Jiu saw the dark expression on Diwook's face, he was frightened to death. He quickly explained, "It's not funny, not funny, not funny at all." What do you mean by very big, very soft, and pleasurable? This Lord Jiu really did not hear anything. Every debt has a debtor. Divine Son, don't look for the wrong person. The divine light in Diwook's eyes blazed like fire as it shot towards Lord Jiu. Damn. Lord Jiu already said that it has nothing to do with me. Although this Lord Jiu really wants to touch it, Lord Jiu cursed. Then he leaped up and burrowed into the ground, dodging this divine light. Then he fled to somewhere unknown. Let's go! Xiaochen unfurled the freedom wings, picked up Yichen, and quickly fled. Diwook's strength was unfathomable. Furthermore, there was a group of outstanding talents accompanying him. This was not a good time to start a fight with him. The magic energy in Xiaochen's spiritual sense had recovered only 30%. He did not dare to use the magic skill so close yet worlds apart. Instead, he relied on the speed of the freedom wings to flee like the wind. Tenjin Emperor World Annihilation Imprint. Diwook's hands moved, and the rings of golden light behind him merged into the image of a deity sovereign. Then, it followed Diwook's hand seals and did the same thing. Xiaochen's vast mental energy surged and burned. The Tenjin Emperor World Annihilation Imprint behind him gave off a bright golden light. The Tenjin Emperor World Annihilation Imprint's body quickly swelled, reaching the clouds in the blink of an eye, turning into a horrifying giant. First heaven rose behind the deity sovereign. Second heaven, third heaven, fourth heaven, a total of 9 heavens appeared. Each heaven was a great realm. This was a true great realm, just like Xiaochen's Sky Dome realm in the past. The difference was that these were great realms ruled by the deity race. In the 9 heavens, the believers of the deity race all felt the call of the deity sovereign. They closed their eyes and muttered to themselves. They prayed sincerely in their hearts, contributing their strength. A boundless divine might spread out. Xiaochen looked back and saw that the deity's eyes were as huge as stars. Even though he had already fled 50 kilometers away, it seemed like he was still within the reach of the other party's palm strike. Destroy! Diwook shouted expressionlessly. The World Annihilation Imprint that the Tenjin Emperor World Annihilation Imprint gently smashed down on Xiaochen. The palm strike traveled 50 kilometers. A vast aura of destruction came from it. The power of this palm strike seemed like it could really destroy a world. Before the palm strike landed, the ground cracked like a spiderweb. Such a strong deity race martial technique shocked the many older generation cultivators that flew over from the heavenly palaces. Every deity monarch of the deity race has their own title. Furthermore, They will leave behind a martial technique that surpasses a heaven-ranked martial technique. Back then, the one who wanted to unify the Kunlun realm and compete with the Qing Emperor for supremacy seemed to be this Tenjin Emperor Zhu. That deity sovereign was also someone who could shake the heavens with a flip of his hand, comparable to Neptune. Unfortunately, he ran into the Qing Emperor. In the end, that was his tragedy. However, compared to the deity sovereign, Diwuk is still far inferior. The deity race rules 900 lower realms. With a thought, the Tenjin Emperor Zhu can open 900 heavens. With one palm strike, he can shatter a star. Don't say that. For Diwuk to be able to open 9 heavens at such a young age, he is sufficient to sweep through the younger generation. That's true. Given this, it looks like he was hiding his strength when he executed the split-second beginning sword. Xiao Chen's accumulations are insufficient. Compared to Diwuk, he is still far inferior. How unfortunate. The cultivators chasing after Xiao Chen were at least peak superior grade martial sages. There were many Grandmaster-level martial sages. Some of the older generation Grandmaster-level martial sages were even more knowledgeable. With one glance, they could tell the origins of the martial technique Diwuk executed. Yi Chen sighed softly and said, "My massacre saber Dao can also destroy the world. If I were at my peak, I would really like to try this move." Despite facing a great disaster, Yi Chen was very open-minded, not fearing death at all. Xiao Chen withdrew the freedom wings and looked at the descending Tenjin Emperor's world-eliminating imprint. Yi Chen's words infected him, and lofty sentiments welled up in his heart. He laughed loudly and said, "World-destroying. Let me see how you destroy the world." Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness surged, and his magic energy burned. He executed the Dragon Tone art, the Dragon's Gate's secret technique that countered the deity race. The image of a blue dragon swam about in Xiao Chen's chest. A surging dragon roar spread out uncontrollably from Xiao Chen's body. The blue dragon roared ferociously, and a strong wind blew. Driven by the Dragon Tone art, the formless dragon chi moved about above Xiao Chen's head, forming a huge indistinct dragon head. The dragon's body hid in layers of clouds for 50 kilometers around, making it impossible to see its true body. As Xiao Chen burned his magic energy, the dragon head became increasingly visible. From a distance, it looked like an ancient blue dragon king tore through space and peeked its head out. Xiao Chen could no longer suppress the energy stored in his chest. He opened his mouth and roared in rage. Chapter 941. The colossal dragon head in the clouds opened its jaws at the same time, and a whirlpool-like sound wave spewed out from the blue dragon king's mouth. It formed a small black hole and clashed with the descending Tenjin Emperor's world-eliminating imprint. Bang! Overwhelming sounds rang out endlessly in the sky. The sky shook, the ground trembled. The 9 layers of sky behind the deity sovereign shattered. The golden light faded, and the divine might vanished. Xiao Chen's throat turned hoarse as if it was on fire. Since he reached great perfection in the Dragon Tone art, this was the first time he brought out its full power. The martial techniques of the deity race were unexpectedly effective. Dragon Tone art. What strong mental energy! He must have summoned out the ancient blue dragon king's image. Otherwise, he could not have fought the Tenjin Emperor. Everyone keeps talking about the white-robed Xiao Chen, forgetting his identity. He is the descendant of the Qing Emperor. Unexpectedly, the grudge from 10,000 years ago lasted until this great age. Everyone was shocked. Even after Diwuk sent out the Tenjin Emperor's world-eliminating imprint, he still failed to destroy Xiao Chen. A mere deity sovereign is only SOS. A dead person dares to glare at me? Earlier, Diwuk said, "Die," so Xiao Chen did the same. A banner filled with starlight, radiating the tricolored light of massacre, death, and ruin, flew towards the deity sovereign image in the sky. The Tenjin Emperor, who had lost his divine might, could not stop the meteor-like cycle banner. With a kacha sound, the war flag stabbed into the heaven-illuminating divine emperor's forehead. Death chi, massacre chi, destruction chi, and the power of a star instantly spread out. Cracks appeared in the huge deity sovereign image before it exploded. It was so fast that Diwuk could not react in time. 100,000 strands of divine light flew out. When the divine light struck some of the cultivators, they immediately felt their mental energy increase. Wild joy immediately appeared on their faces. The other martial artists immediately fought with all their might. Only the older generation grandmasters and the disciples of the big sects remained indifferent. The goddess Tianyu, she held the divine halberd in her hand and materialized a 33 sky black and yellow pagoda. The divine light scattered in all directions quickly poured into the black and yellow pagoda like a gale. Several of the cultivators who absorbed the divine light earlier had their heads explode. The divine light surged out and entered the pagoda. A bunch of fools. Without the blue-robed emperor's strength, they dare to recklessly absorb the Zhu Tenjin emperor's divine power. The Tenjin emperor's shadow has been destroyed. The power of faith will decrease by a lot. In the future, when Diwuk uses this move, its power will be much weaker. The Dragon Tone art truly lives up to its name of the Qing Emperor's research. It specifically targets the deity race. It is indeed incredible. Diwuk showed a slightly stunned expression. It was not that he did not know that Xiaoqin knew the Dragon Tone art. However, the Dragon Tone art countered the deity race's martial techniques. It was like how water countered fire. As long as the fire grew bigger, the water would be like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. You gave me a palm strike, so I'll give you a punch in return. As the saying goes, it is impolite not to reciprocate. However, Xiaoqin did not stop in the air. Deities descending, 10-fold combat prowess. 10 dragon force, 50 million tons of force. Bang, bang, bang. The clothes on Xiaoqian's right fist instantly tore. His skin cracked open, and blood leaked out. However, he still punched without hesitation. Diwuk narrowed his eyes. A sense of danger flashed in his heart for some reason. Aside from facing older generation experts or extremely dangerous ferocious beasts, he had never felt this before. This was something that Xiaoqin had never done before against a cultivator of the same generation. This punch did not have any spiritual energy fluctuations. Behind him, one could vaguely see 10 ancient heaven dragons roaring. The force of this punch carried the might of 10 dragons. 10 dragon force. When the Tenjin Emperor's deity statue broke, Diwuk's expression went blank for a moment. It was this brief blankness that Xiaoqin firmly grasped. By the time Xiaoqin recovered his wits, the fist light had already arrived before him. He had nowhere to dodge and could not summon the divine kingdom image in time. Diwuk quickly formed hand seals, and a vertical eye opened on his forehead. Then 12 small shields flew out and formed a miniature formation. The shields turned into 12 different mutated beasts of the deity race encased in divine light. This was a king-grade secret treasure that Xiaoqin personally refined. It was different from others. Xiaoqin pursued the higher grade of the secret treasure. However, he was limited by his strength, unable to bring out its full strength. The Heavenly Beast Shield was a secret treasure that Diwuk forged based on his own strength. It could bring out 120% of its might. Once Xiaoqin's strength improved, he would immediately add divine materials to the Heavenly Beast Shield, allowing it to keep up with his improvement. The might of this secret treasure could not compare to that of peak king-grade secret treasures. However, it was the most suitable for Diwuk. This secret treasure could improve as Xiaoqin's strength improved, eventually bringing out 120% of its might. Diwuk was confident that no matter how powerful Xiaoqin's punch was, Xiaoqin would only lose one secret treasure at most with the Heavenly Beast Shield. He would not suffer any injury. However, the force of this punch far surpassed Diwuk's expectations. 10 dragons roared, 50 million tons of force. The 12 Heavenly Beast Shields shattered immediately. The mutated beasts of the deity race shrieked miserably. The force of the punch did not diminish. Before Diwuk's shocked gaze, it pierced through his protective divine light, shattered his protective armor, and sent him crashing down. Bang! The ground cracked, and a deep pit appeared. Chunks of soil the size of small hills soared into the air. Dust flew everywhere, preventing anyone from seeing the situation below. After 3 years, Di Wuk got knocked into the air again. Furthermore, it was the same person, the person who kicked him at the Sage Mark Monument 3 years ago. The divine son Di Wuk got knocked into the air. Everyone was stunned, not daring to believe the scene before them. Whoosh! Just as everyone's minds went blank, a beam of divine light flew over. Tianyushi held the divine halberd in her hand as she charged at Shao Qin, who had entered a weakened state after executing deities descending. Her white hair fluttered, and her holy and flawless face appeared cold and emotionless. She did not check on Di Wuk's injuries immediately. Instead, in the time it took for a spark to fly, she attacked when Shao Qin opened up the most. She was so calm that it made one's hair stand on end. Scarlet light filled the air. A ghostly saber light appeared beside Shao Qin. Every strand of saber light contained a boundless will of massacre, confusing one's mind and killing everything in the world. Yi Chen held the long saber in his hand as his figure flashed and landed in front of Shao Qin. A bright scarlet light gathered in his body as he hacked at the approaching Tianyushi. Yi Chen's black hair had already turned scarlet, and his eyes were scarlet. His entire being radiated an evil aura. He was like a killing god that walked out of hell as he sent out a ghostly saber light. Tianyushi held the divine halberd and circulated the profound deity race cultivation technique, clashing head-on with this saber. Divine light flared, and his clothes fluttered, looking holy and inviolable. This was a stark contrast to Yi Chen's aura. In the end, Yi Chen was still injured. This full-powered saber strike from Yi Chen could not block Tianyushi for long before Tianyushi knocked him back. Tianyushi's gaze turned cold as she brandished the divine halberd. Divine light fell like rain behind her. However, Shao Qin recovered his wits at this moment. He had already passed his weakest moment. He stretched out his hand and grabbed the cycle banner in the sky. Starlight shot out and blocked Tianyushi, who was preparing to attack Yi Chen. Shao Qin smiled faintly and said, "The divine daughter is really emotionless. To think that she wants to kill brother Yi so badly. My brother's obsession with you is no stronger than the divine son's." At this moment, no one knew if Di Wuk was dead or alive. The 13 keepers covered the sky, not allowing anyone to approach. Shao Chen's magic energy was drained, and he no longer had any vital qi. His physical body also suffered a huge backlash. Furthermore, he had already sustained injuries from earlier. His injuries had worsened. However, when facing this aloof, pure, and unfathomable divine daughter, Tianyushi, Shao Qin could not help but feel relieved. When Shao Qin thought about Yi Chen's one-track mind and looked at her towering chest, he could not help but relax. No matter what, Shao Qin had knocked Di Wuk into the air and mocked the divine daughter. Even if he was surrounded by the heroes of the primal chaos domain and surrounded by danger, he had settled his debts of gratitude and revenge. Shao Qin had used his actions to tell the 3 holy masters and everyone in the world that he would definitely rise up in this life. No matter who it was, not even Di Wuk could stop him. Shao Qin would not die within half a year. He would appear at the king conferral ceremony as promised and inherit the title of Blue Dragon King. Bang! The rocks in the deep pit where Di Wuk landed shattered, and a figure flew out. Blood leaked out of a corner of Di Wuk's lips as he walked out. At this moment, Shao Chen's complexion was pale, and there were blood stains on his skin. He had already changed into a new set of clothes. The golden light behind him was gone, and he looked like an ordinary person. As he walked in the air, he stretched out his hand and tied up his drifting white hair. Then he revealed a faint smile. White-robed Shao Qin, descendant of the Qing Emperor. You truly live up to being a person with great luck. Even the Tenjin Emperor's world-eliminating imprint could not kill you. Furthermore, you seized the opportunity to counterattack and injure me. Di Wuk's calm tone made Shao Chen's heart sink. At this moment, Shao Chen's mental state no longer had the rage from earlier. Now it was perfect and flawless. The injuries on Di Wuk's body were clearly very severe, but they gave Shao Chen a sense of extreme danger. Di Wuk's eyes were calm and tranquil. He said, "Many thanks. Your punch scattered my pride and knocked me off my divine altar. My 33 Tenjin Emperor's holy scripture also successfully broke through. Now that your luck is overwhelming, I can kill you with a flip of my hand. Xiao Chen crossed his arms and smiled faintly. Ha. So, Brother D's cultivation technique is so special. You need to be kicked forcefully by others before you can truly break through. In the future, if there is a need, this Xiao does not mind kicking you a few more times. Suddenly, Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and smiled in enlightenment. That's not right. Your cultivation technique requires you to get angry first and let someone touch the divine daughter. After that, you get kicked before you can improve. The deity race's cultivation technique is truly wondrous. This time, Brother D needs the help of 2 people to advance. In the future, you can leave it to me alone. I will kick your face, and I can touch the divine daughter's chest. Xiao Chen had a serious expression as he explained logically. Occasionally, he would glance at the divine daughter Tian Yuxi's chest. A huge flaw immediately appeared in Di Wux's perfect mental state. He was so angry that he vomited a mouthful of blood. The rage in his eyes burned ferociously again. The divine daughter Tian Yuxi was so angry that her chest heaved up and down. Chapter 942. Xiao Chen laughed heartily. Brother D, you're angry again. Looks like someone's going to kick you again. Unfortunately, I don't have time today. I'll kick you another day. Xiao Chen had achieved his goal, successfully breaking Di Wux's mental state. His cultivation technique probably returned to normal. Without saying anything more, Xiao Chen turned around and ran with Yi Chen. Kill him. He must die today. Di Wux was incomparably furious. The 13 keepers behind him obeyed the order and chased after him. The outstanding heroes of the Primal Chaos domain, who had been watching the show for a long time, could now see how weak Xiao Chen was. All of them began to think of ways to deal with him, surrounding Xiao Chen. Without his magic energy, Xiao Chen could not use the freedom wings. His physical body was severely injured, and he was surrounded by many experts. Just as Xiao Chen was about to use the will clone of the Haotian Emperor, the ground beneath their feet suddenly split open, and a bottomless pit appeared. There was something strange at the bottom of the pit that quickly pulled the 2 down, leaving them unable to resist at all. When they were halfway down, a hand stretched out from the hole in the wall of the pit and pulled the 2 of them, who were caught off guard. It was Lord Jiao, who had fled a long time ago, coming back to kill them. Don't talk, follow me. Lord Jiao chuckled and quickly led the 2 underground in the heavenly ruin wasteland. On the ground, the crowd stared at the pitch-black, bottomless pit. They looked at each other and hesitated on whether or not they should give chase. There were many ancient remnants buried in the heavenly ruin wasteland. There were many unpredictable dangers underground. If one went down rashly and accidentally triggered a restriction, only death awaited them. Lord Jiao stopped and said to the 2, "We are safe now." Yi Chen turned his head back to check. Indeed, there was no danger. He smiled and said, "You scoundrel, you are really capable. I underestimated you in the past." Lord Jiao said proudly, "This Lord Jiao is not very capable above ground. However, in the underground, especially in the heavenly ruin wasteland, if a great Grandmaster-level martial sage dares to come, this Lord Jiao can beat them down. This Lord Jiao is the king of the underground." Rumble. While he was speaking, the cave suddenly started to shake incessantly. The rocks above Lord Jiao's head loosened, burying him in an instant. Xiao Chen and Yi Chen were still somewhat strong. They casually pushed aside the falling rocks. The shaking continued for a long time before it stopped. Xiao Chen and Yi Chen both felt that something was wrong. Lord Jiao pushed away the rocks in a sorry state. His skinny body was covered in wounds. He coughed a few times and cursed, "Damn it! Can't this Lord Jiao be cocky for a while?" Xiao Chen's expression was grave. He closed his eyes and ignored Lord Jiao's complaints. Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense out in a straight line. After a while, he opened his eyes and said, "The heavenly palace is destroyed, and the formation is broken. The thing under the mountain is coming out." Lord Jiao's eyes lit up. "Come, let's go check it out. It is highly likely that there is an immortal artifact suppressed beneath the mountain. If I can obtain it and sell it, The resources I can get would be more than enough for me to cultivate up to the great Grandmaster stage. Yichen countered, You? Stop dreaming. If you really managed to snatch it, there would be no need for the blue-robed emperor to make a move. A great Grandmaster-level martial sage would be able to kill you with one finger. This immortal artifact is not something we can even think about. If it really was an immortal artifact, it was indeed not something they could fight for. The 3 peak sects of the Primal Chaos domain would definitely send out great Grandmaster-level martial sages. Even the blue-robed emperor might make a move. However, Xiaochen had seen many disciples of the Heavenly Music sect and the Frost Moon Palace in the Heavenly Ruin Wasteland. However, he did not see any Muddy Sky Gate experts. Xiaochen did not know what the other party was planning. Xiaochen thought for a while before saying, Let's go and take a look. There is no need to fight for it. Not to mention our severe injuries, even if we were at our peak, we would not stand a chance. Lord Jiu chuckled and immediately took action. He was born with a keen sense for danger. In the underground, he avoided many of the terrifying restrictions. After 9 turns, the 3 emerged from the twisted underground tunnel and looked in the direction of the immortal sect remnant. The 9-colored light in the sky vanished, and the heavenly palace shattered. The magic treasures inside shattered as well. Several of the cultivators who did not manage to flee in time were severely injured. Cracks appeared on the immortal mountain below. Resplendent spiritual light could be seen in the cracks, looking very dazzling. Bang! The immortal mountain crumbled completely, and the world shook again. The entire heavenly ruin wasteland trembled. The 3 quickly jumped out of the ground. Lord Jiu said with lingering fear in his heart, Fortunately, we came out to take a look. Otherwise, we would still be underground and buried alive. The instant the mountain crumbled, abundant spiritual energy poured down like spring rain. A cold drizzle drifted down from the sky. The raindrops were a faint golden color, made entirely of spiritual energy. Peak spirit vein. The 3 sucked in a deep breath and could not help exclaiming. The faint golden spiritual rain was the most obvious sign of a peak spirit vein. Looking at this spiritual rain covering close to 500 kilometers, it was hard to imagine how many peak spirit veins were hidden in the immortal mountain. An immortal sect magic treasure nourished by so many spirit veins was definitely an immortal artifact. Strong auras flew towards the immortal sect remnant. Several of the hidden great Grandmaster-level martial sages finally could not hold back and revealed themselves, waiting for the immortal artifact to appear. Xiaochen led the 3 back and landed on an extremely desolate mound, watching from afar. Whether it was an immortal artifact or not, the shock waves caused by it would definitely spread far and wide. Right now, Xiaochen and Yichen were not in good states. If they got caught up in the shock waves, they would not feel good. The faint golden spiritual rain fell endlessly. Many golden dragons flew out of the destroyed mountain. These were the manifestations of the peak spirit vein's origins. These dragons already possessed spiritual energy and were as strong as Grandmaster-level martial sages. Regular martial sages would not last more than 10 moves against these spirit dragons. 1, 2, 3, them, it's already more than 50, and we still haven't seen the bottom. Lord Jiu was flabbergasted as he counted the spirit veins' origins. Peak spirit veins. The Haotian sect, which Xiaochen was in, had accumulated only 100 peak spirit veins over the past 10,000 years. Apart from sects on the level of the 3 Holy Lands, no other sect had such a large number of supreme-grade spirit veins. Just one mountain gate suppressed so many peak spirit veins. When this sect was at its peak, there were many mountains around it. What a grand sight it must have been. However, such a great sect disappeared silently in the long river of history with the destruction of the immortal epic. Xiaochen's thoughts wandered. He felt very curious. The previous immortal epic was so strong. What exactly destroyed it? At the peak of the martial epic, those legendary martial gods, whose existence was unknown, must have sensed something and disappeared from this world, not leaving behind any news at all. A total of 100 peak spirit veins. This immortal artifact finally appeared. Lord Jiu's startled cry interrupted Xiaochen's thoughts. Xiao Chen looked up and saw a treasure light soaring into the sky. A painting slowly unfurled. The mountains and rivers in the painting were magnificent, spanning 5,000 kilometers. From 5 kilometers away, Xiao Chen discovered that what he saw was not a painting but a world. Mountains, rivers, plains, and sand dunes entered his eyes as the painting unfurled. He could clearly see every blade of grass, every tree, every flower, and every tree. When the painting completely unfurled, the words, "Beautiful mountains and rivers," appeared on the upper right corner. This was a beautiful painting of mountains and rivers. The expected shock wave did not happen. Instead, it was extremely calm. The surroundings were quiet. The cultivators nearby did not move at all. Something's not right. Xiao Chen's expression changed. How could no one move when the treasure appeared? Instead, it was so quiet. This was extremely strange. When Xiao Chen squinted and looked carefully, his expression changed again. It was not that these people did not move. Rather, they no longer had the opportunity to move. The figures that Xiao Chen saw were not really standing in the air. Instead, at some point in time, they had all become people in the painting. The strange, beautiful mountain and river paintings seemed to be in harmony with the surrounding space, giving people the illusion that they were in the painting or not. Several of the people sucked into the painting were Grandmaster-level martial sages. Even so, they were silently sucked into the painting. Xiao Chen asked himself if he could defeat these people. However, he did not think that they would be much stronger. If he had not resisted his curiosity, he would have been sucked into the painting as well. When Xiao Chen thought of this, he could not help but feel a chill run down his spine. It already touches on the laws of space. This beautiful mountains and rivers painting is definitely an immortal equipment, Yichen said. Xiao Chen said after some thought, great Grandmaster-level existences can bring out the full might of a peak king-grade secret treasure. They should be able to fight for this ownerless item. Right after Xiao Chen spoke, beams of light quickly flew towards the beautiful mountains and rivers painting in the air. All of them were great Grandmaster-level existences. The primal chaos domain was where the loose cultivators of the world gathered. There were more great Grandmaster-level martial sages there than anywhere else. Seeing so many great Grandmaster-level martial sages appear, Xiao Chen did not find it strange. However, the two people who appeared after them startled him. Di Wuk and Tianyu. She stood on a vast divine kingdom and flew towards the beautiful mountains and rivers painting, filling the sky with light. When the two worked together and relied on the divine kingdom image, they were not at a disadvantage against a group of great Grandmaster-level martial sages. These great Grandmaster-level martial sages were at least 500 or 600 years old. Di Wuk and Tianyu Shi of the younger generation stood out among them, shining brightly. At this moment, Di Wuk's mental state recovered once more. His strength seemed to be significantly higher than before. Xiao Chen could not help frowning slightly. Di Wuk's strength was unfathomable in the first place. Even if he used all his trump cards, Xiao Chen only had a 70% chance of defeating him. Now that Di Wuk's strength had improved, Xiao Chen's chances of victory would be less than 50%. Yichen sighed and said, "Xiao Chen, your opponent is extraordinarily horrifying. He probably still has many trump cards that he has not used in his fight with you." Xiao Chen knew that he had caught a gap in Di Wuk's deity's Descending's 10 Dragon Force punch. Otherwise, it would have been very difficult for Xiao Chen to knock Di Wuk away. "Old Jiu, did you see the 100 peak spirit veins flying in the sky clearly? Who snatched these spirit veins in the end? Help me remember their scent and come back later." Xiao Chen did not have any thoughts about the beautiful mountains and rivers painting. However, he would take as many of these 100 peak spirit veins as he could. Now that Xiao Chen was injured, he could only ask Lord Jiu for help. After he recovered, he could snatch them back one by one. Chapter 943. Yichen could not help feeling stunned for a while. Xiao Chen's appetite was a little too big. Based on what he said, it sounded like he wanted to take away all 100 peak spirit veins. "Don't worry. I prepared them long ago. I was just waiting for you to say that." Lord Jiu chuckled and burrowed into the ground, not surprised at all. I thought that I was ruthless enough. Xiaoqin, you are even more ruthless than me, Yichen sighed as he looked at the two, feeling ashamed of his inferiority. Xiaoqin smiled and said, otherwise, how do you think I obtained those 900 magic treasures? Come, let's go and recuperate first. We will do something big later. The two returned to the underground tunnel that Lord Jiu made. Xiaoqin took out 2 lunar cassia flowers from the immortal spirit ring and handed them to Yichen. When Yichen received the lunar cassia flowers, he was startled. Xiaoqin really had an endless supply of good stuff. He wondered where he got them. When consumed alone, the lunar cassia flowers were only as effective as a rank 9 medicinal pill. However, there was a benefit to them. They would not clash with other medicinal pills. For example, if one consumed several medicinal pills of the same grade, their effects would be greatly reduced. Sage-grade medicinal pills were no exception. If one consumed a lunar cassia flower at this moment, it would still bring out the effects of a rank 9 medicinal pill. When Xiaoqin saw that Yichen was about to swallow both lunar cassia flowers, he quickly said, conserve it. One is enough. The remaining one is for you. I don't have many lunar cassia flowers left. As the two treated their injuries underground and recovered their strength, they did not know that the outside world was already in chaos. Be it the fight for the beautiful mountain and river painting or the peak spirit vein, they had already reached a miserable stage. 2 days later, Xiaoqian's injuries completely recovered. The damage from the profound river mirror, the divine kingdom image, and the backlash from 10 Dragon Force had all healed, leaving no hidden injuries. Yichen's injuries were much more severe than Xiaoqian's. He had not recovered in the first place. Then he blocked that saber strike for Xiaoqin. Even with the help of the lunar cassia flowers, he had only recovered 80%. Not wanting to disturb the other party's recovery, Xiaoqin walked out of the tunnel and made many turns before arriving at another underground tunnel. After taking a deep breath, Xiaoqin circulated his law energy and laid down a lightning barrier. Xiaoqin took out the sealed thunder origin in the universe ring. Berserk electricity immediately spewed out everywhere in the spacious passageway. Not only did the strong force fail to break the lightning barrier that Xiaoqin laid, but it even made the barrier even more stable and transparent. The thunder origin was a mutated spirit vein's origin. It contained pure lightning-attributed spiritual energy. To Xiaoqin, who cultivated lightning-attributed cultivation techniques, it was a divine treasure bestowed by the heavens, a great supplement. To Xiaoqin it was even better. The purple thunder divine incantation's 7th layer had a huge appetite. Tichen did not know. Xiaoqin did not know how. He did it? Without thunder, Xiaoqin did not know how. Xiao Tichen would have needed to cultivate. Xiaoqin cultivated the purple thunder divine incantation, had a peak rank 3 sage body, and swallowed many divine materials. Although there were no obvious changes to his physical body, Xiaoqin could feel that his physical body was undergoing a great transformation. As for what these changes were, he could only figure them out after he gathered 10 Dragon Force and materialized the blue dragon battle armor. However, Xiaoqin could sense that his physical body seemed to be undergoing a huge change. As for what exactly this change was, he could only figure it out after he gathered 10 Dragon Force and materialized the Azure Dragon battle armor. With these cards in his hand, he could swallow up the thunder source without worrying about the danger of his body exploding. The other cultivators did not have such conditions, so they could only devour it step by step. Xiaoqin opened his mouth and inhaled. The purple thunder origin turned into a bolt of electric light and surged into his body. The electric light surged around, and this process lasted for a long time. The law energy of thunder slowly merged into a circle. Xiaoqin understood that as long as it formed a circle, he would reach superior grade martial sage. Xiaoqin slowly formed a circle. He understood that as long as he formed a circle, he would advance to superior grade martial sage. His comprehension of heavenly sage laws reached a whole new level. When Xiaoqin completely absorbed the thunder origin, the vast lightning-attributed energy allowed him to smoothly break through the shackles of medial-grade martial sage and advance to superior-grade martial sage. The power of laws gathered into a circle, forming a circle, no longer a single straight line. Behind Xiaoqin, the power of laws surged out, forming circles of purple light wheels, a total of 1,000. It was similar to Di Wux's golden halo, but it was much weaker. This was a phenomenon unique to high-grade martial artists. However, very few people could be like Di Wux. At such a young age, after the power of law surged out of his body, he could still emit such an intense and dazzling light. In the past, Xiaoqin's law energy was as thick as an arm and a kilometer long. It was vast and mighty. The mysterious phenomenon it materialized was like a boundless sea of lightning, filled with a tyrannical and unblockable aura. Now that it formed a circle, it lost the tyrannical and vast aura. Instead, it gained a gentle feeling. The berserk lightning-attributed energy became docile. Xiaoqin carefully experienced the feeling of advancing to superior-grade martial sage. With a thought, the boundless spiritual energy underground was sucked into the purple lightning-attributed halo behind him. After the lightning-attributed halo circulated, the quintessence that the law energy sent to Xiaoqin was even more refined, much stronger than before. Xiaoqin opened his eyes and scattered his cultivation technique. However, the purple lightning-attributed halo behind him had not completely vanished. There was still a faint trace of it. This was because Xiaoqin's cultivation was too vast. Furthermore, he had just advanced to superior-grade martial sage, so he could not use these lightning-attributed halos as he pleased. After some time, he would be able to hide them all with a thought. Now that his cultivation had improved significantly, Xiaoqin was confident that he could defeat Grandmaster-level demonic Brilliant Two Elders without relying on the cycle banner. After he went out and snatched all 100 peak spirit veins, he would be even more confident. Xiaoqin stood up and moved as fast as lightning, arriving at the passageway where Yi Chen was. Yi Chen's complexion was much better now. He was not far from his peak state. Superior-grade martial sage, 1,000 lightning-attributed halos. Yi Chen immediately noticed the purple lightning-attributed halo behind Xiaoqin. He could vaguely hear thunder in the blurry lightning-attributed halo. Xiaoqin nodded and said, "I obtained a fortuitous encounter in the Heavenly Ruin Wasteland and just broke through. This is really shocking. When I first entered the Heavenly Ruin Wasteland, I felt that I had at least a 60% chance of victory against you. Now, I feel that I barely have a 50% chance." Xiaoqin waved his hand, and the cycle banner appeared in his palm. The Heavenly Jade Pearl's massacre chi poured out endlessly. "Brother Yi, you cultivate the massacre Dao. Coincidentally, I have an item that contains a boundless amount of massacre chi. At the same time, there is also death chi and ruin chi. These two are related to massacre. I can lend it to you to cultivate for a while." Yi Chen circulated his cultivation technique and absorbed some of the massacre chi. Then his eyes lit up. "Good stuff. To think that there is such a treasure in this world. If you lend it to me for a month, when I meet Yan Shisan again, my massacre Dao will definitely surpass his." "You met Yan Shisan?" Xiaoqin asked doubtfully. He had not heard any news of this old friend of his for a long time. According to his first senior sister, Yan Shisan had not appeared in the starry heaven Silver Lake. This was a genius of the sword Dao immersed in the martial Dao. The first time they met, Yan Shisan gave Xiaoqin immense pressure. Back then, in the Heavenly Dew Divine Spring, Yan Shisan did not even care about Di Wux. "Half a year ago, I met him once in the Heavenly Starry Ocean. Like me, he cultivated the massacre Dao. I wanted to swallow up his state of massacre, and he wanted to swallow up my state of massacre. Unfortunately, I lost rather miserably. I used the will clone that father gave me to escape this calamity. Yan Shisan is the greatest enemy of my life," Yi Chen said slowly. As Yi Chen spoke, a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. This murderous intent did not represent hatred. Instead, it was a dense fighting spirit. It turned out that Yan Shisan had gone to the Heavenly Starry Ocean. No wonder there was no news of him on the continent. I wonder how much he improved in the past 3 years. "Oh, right, you already condensed a saber soul. How come I have never seen you use a saber before?" Yi Chen asked as he stuck the cycle banner in the ground beside him. At first, he thought that Xiao Chen was hiding his strength on purpose. However, when he saw that Xiao Chen did not draw his saber even when facing Di Wuk, he felt suspicious. Yi Chen's question caused Xiao Chen to reveal a somewhat sorrowful expression. The flawless saber Dao. If one always did not have a saber, how could one be truly flawless? Even if one used one's thoughts as a saber and one's body as a saber, without the saber in one's heart, one would find it hard to reach consummation. After a long time, Xiao Chen squeezed out a smile and said softly, "I lost my saber." Yi Chen found this strange. It looked like he had asked a question that he should not have. There should be a story between Xiao Chen and that lost saber. Just as Yi Chen was about to say something to console him, he heard Xiao Chen say calmly, "However, one day, I will find her, no matter the price." Xiao Chen's calm tone contained an unquestionable certainty. Yi Chen smiled faintly and did not say anything more. The underground turned silent. Yi Chen started to absorb the killing qi of the heavenly jade star while Xiao Chen continued to stabilize his cultivation. After some time, rustling sounds came from the tunnel. The two opened their eyes at the same time. They knew that this was Lord Jiu's special method of moving. Boom! A hole appeared in the stone wall above them. Lord Jiu landed between the two, covered in dust. His shifty-eyed appearance had not changed at all. Young heroes, your injuries should be more or less healed, right? The 100 peak spirit veins will be taken by others soon. If you still do not come out, you will not even get the leftovers. Lord Jiu asked impatiently, his eyes filled with hope. This time, he was going to strike it rich again. Who took the beautiful mountain and river painting? Yi Chen asked the question that piqued his interest as well. Xiao Chen revealed a curious expression as he looked at Lord Jiu. The Muddy Sky Gate's blue-robed emperor snatched it away. Originally, Di Wuk took advantage of the time when the Frost Moon Palace and the Heavenly Music Sect's blue-robed emperors were fighting each other to send out a divine sovereign clone and obtain the beautiful mountain and river painting. Unexpectedly, the Muddy Sky Gate, which had been waiting patiently, made a move at the last moment. The blue-robed emperor descended and directly crushed the divine sovereign clone, snatching away the beautiful mountain and river painting. When Lord Jiu spoke of this matter, he sounded extremely exaggerated. The scene of the blue-robed emperors making a move even caused the sky above the immortal sect remnant to collapse. This resulted in several spatial tears in the heavenly ruin wasteland that had not been mended. Chapter 944. Let's go. I want to see who it was that stole the peak-grade spirit vein. A smile appeared on Xiao Chen's face as he took the lead. As long as it was not Di Wuk who obtained it, it would be fine. Since the Muddy Sky Gate obtained it, Xiao Chen could use his relationship with Qi Wuxue to observe it in the future. Xiao Chen was extremely interested in the spatial Dao contained in the beautiful mountain and river painting. Of course, the most important thing right now was the 100 peak spirit veins. Most of the roaming dragons formed by the 100 peak spirit veins in the heavenly ruin wasteland had already been subdued. However, the heat did not decrease. Not many people left. The cultivators who managed to obtain peak spirit veins by luck were very confident. They wanted to obtain a few more. Very few people were satisfied. Those who didn't manage to obtain a peak-grade spirit vein were naturally even more anxious, and they racked their brains to find a peak-grade spirit vein. Immortal artifacts had nothing to do with them, so they could not compete for them. However, the blue-robed emperor was not interested in top-grade spirit veins. Furthermore, there were many of them, so they had to compete for them. Peng, the ground exploded, and Xiao Chen's group of 3 appeared on flat ground. We're finally out. I wonder if Di Wuk and Tianyu Shi have left yet. At this moment, not only had Yi Chen recovered to his peak state, but his strength had also soared significantly by relying on the cycle banner's qi of massacre, death, and ruin. Right now, he was brimming with confidence, and he could not wait to have a great battle with Di Wuk. Xiao Chen also felt a sense of heroism in his heart as he said, "Old Jiu, lead the way. This time, we will kill our way there in an upright manner." Lord Jiu sniffed twice. Then he raised his head and laughed. Coincidentally, there are 2 targets 150 kilometers to the north. I remember that they seem to have obtained a peak spirit vein not long ago. Go. Without saying anything more, the three of them immediately headed north. Along the way, Lord Jiu was very excited. He had long since wanted to make a move. Unfortunately, he was not strong enough, so he could only watch. With Lord Jiu leading the way, the target had no chance of escaping. 1 hour later, the target appeared before the three of them. However, all Xiaochen could see were 2 corpses. The spatial rings on their hands were still there, but the peak spirit vein was nowhere to be found. Yichen frowned slightly and asked, "Who is it? How could he kill 2 Grandmaster-level martial sages so quickly? We chased him all the way here." Xiaochen bent down and checked the cause of death of the 2 corpses. There were no visible wounds on the surface. There was only a palm print on each of their chests. Their ribs were not broken, but their internal organs had all been shattered. They died in an instant. "A great Grandmaster-level martial sage made a move," Xiaochen said with a grave expression. Even among Grandmaster-level martial sages, there were differences in strength. Most Grandmaster-level martial sages only had higher cultivations than superior-grade martial sages. As for the heir of a Grandmaster-level martial sage, they only had a basic understanding of it. At the level of the demonic brilliant 2 elders, with the accumulation of time, 1 or 2 centuries, their understanding of the martial Tao would increase. Furthermore, Xiaochen's cultivation was incredibly deep. When he attacked, he could bring great pressure to others. He could integrate all the martial techniques he had learned and modify them to suit himself. Above that would be the level of the Haotian sect's Han Qinghe. Not only were his cultivations deep, but he had also grasped the air of a grandmaster. With a raise of his hand, he could bring out 120% of the might of any martial technique he had learned. He was known as a great grandmaster. These people could establish their own sect and leave behind their own inheritance for 1,000 years. If they had a fortuitous encounter, they could soar to the heavens in 1 step, becoming an influential person on the level of the blue-robed emperor. The person who killed these 2 people was a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. Yichen analyzed. Normally speaking, the great Grandmaster-level martial sages of the various sects have their own things to do. Peak spirit veins are useless to them. They can use the holy spirit veins of their sects at any time. The one who did this was probably a loose cultivator. Lord Jiu's lips twitched as he said, "Which old fellow is so shameless? For the sake of 1 or 2 peak spirit veins, he is not afraid of ruining his reputation." Great Grandmaster-level martial sages were people only 1 step away from ascending to the heavens. If word of such actions spread, it would not be good. Xiaochen stood up and said, 1 or 2 peak spirit veins are not worth him making a move. He is like us, probably trying to pocket 100 peak spirit veins. That's impossible. Aside from this Lord Jiu, who else could remember who obtained the spirit veins and the smell of these people? Lord Jiu said, unconvinced. Even a great Grandmaster-level martial sage would not be able to do that. Never mind. Just continue leading the way. Let's not worry about this for now. However, we need to be prepared to clash with a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. As they continued forward, Lord Jiu sniffed the air and revealed a smile on his face. He had found another target. However, this time, they were too late. All they saw was a corpse and nothing. Damn, I'm too late again. The result of the 3rd target was the same. Someone else took away the peak spirit vein before them again. The corpses on the ground were all killed in 1 strike. Needless to say, there had to be a great Grandmaster-level martial sage with the same target as them. Xiaochen's expression turned cold. After thinking for a while, he unfurled the freedom wings. Xiaochen's body became as light as the wind. Crystalline, pure white feathers drifted down from his body. Lord Jiu, point me in a direction. Even if it is a great Grandmaster-level martial sage, I have to fight for it today. Xiaochen looked in the direction Lord Jiu pointed. A scene appeared before him, then froze. Xiaochen took a step forward, carrying Lord Jiu and Yichen across 50 kilometers. The space behind him scattered, forming a wondrous scene. This time, no one got ahead of them. Of the 5 targets, Only one was a grandmaster-level martial sage. There was no need for Xiao Qin to make a move. Yi Chen, who had grown much stronger, fully executed his massacre saber Dao within 100 moves and killed this person, snatching away the peak spirit vein's origin. Lord Jiao smiled widely and quickly put away the spatial rings of the five. Yi Chen handed the peak spirit vein to Xiao Chen for safekeeping. Xiao Chen spread his wings and flew away, quickly bringing the three away from this place. After a while, an old man in azure-colored robes landed. As he moved, he exuded an air of elegance, exuding a natural aura. If Lord Jiao were here, he would recognize this person. This azure-robed old man was Zhuang Jinghe, who was ranked 10th on the Primal Chaos Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking. His ancient Buddhist palm technique had reached perfection, reaching an unimaginable height. Zhuang Jinghe looked at the corpses on the ground and frowned slightly. However, he did not care. The heavenly ruin wasteland was chaotic in the first place. Killing for treasures was a common occurrence. More importantly, even if someone snatched away the spirit veins, it did not matter. They would end up in his hands sooner or later. Zhuang Jinghe had an incomplete secret treasure called the Armillary Sphere. As long as the spirit vein left the ground, it could sense it within 250 kilometers. Normally, this secret treasure was of little value. However, it was now very useful in the heavenly ruin wasteland. The instant the 100 peak spirit veins flew out, Zhuang Jinghe made up his mind to collect all 100 peak spirit veins. This time, the heavens are helping me. After collecting 100 peak spirit veins, I will have the capital to go to the heavenly starry ocean and establish my own sect. I will obtain great luck and become Emperor Wu's disciple. However, after that, the situation of others getting ahead of him happened. Zhuang Jinghe's face sank as he took out the Armillary Sphere and infused it with surging law energy. Most of the heavenly ruin wasteland immediately fell within the range of the Armillary Sphere. Zhuang Jinghe saw spots of spiritual light on the Armillary Sphere. Each spot represented a peak spirit vein. Zhuang Jinghe looked around and discovered 10 odd spots densely packed together in the Armillary Sphere. Soon he understood what was going on. It turns out that there is someone else with the same idea as me. With your help, I can save a lot of time. Zhuang Jinghe laughed loudly and put away the Armillary Sphere. The battle with the blue-robed emperor had caused spatial tears to appear everywhere in the heavenly ruin wasteland. Several hidden restrictions had been activated as well. As a result, Zhuang Jinghe's efficiency dropped significantly. Naturally, it was great that he had someone to help. On the other side, Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings and continuously executed so close yet worlds apart. His efficiency increased significantly, and no one managed to get ahead of him. After 2 days, he had collected more than 20 top-grade spirit veins. Such a harvest made Yi Chen feel embarrassed. When he thought about his actions in the heavenly starry ocean, they were simply small skirmishes, not worth mentioning. On the 4th day, the three finally met with a strong enemy. After Xiao Chen tricked the demonic brilliant 2 elders and the Black Mountain 4 bandits in the heavenly palace, they actually worked together. During this time, they had also collected many peak spirit veins. Xiao Chen, you are really bold. To think that you dare to appear before us. The hemp-robed old man watched as Xiao Chen leaped through layers of space and appeared before them. Then he stared at the freedom wings on Xiao Chen's back with a fervent gaze. The leader of the Black Mountain 4 bandits, Meng Bai, held up his heavy staff and smiled sinisterly. We are already preparing to leave the heavenly ruin wasteland. Unexpectedly, a fat sheep delivered itself to us. White-robed Xiao Chen, do you know how valuable your head is now? Even a great grandmaster-level martial sage would be tempted. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, Everyone, there is no need to worry about this, Xiao. Think about how to protect your own heads first. A strong wind howled, and the sound of killing came from the wind. Yi Chen's black hair turned red, and his eyes turned scarlet as well. He took a step forward and charged at the Black Mountain 4 bandits. He smiled and said, Xiao Chen, let's treat this as our unfinished battle. Let's compete and see who can end it first. Compared to the demonic brilliant 2 elders, the Black Mountain 4 bandits were slightly weaker. However, the difference was not too great. Yi Chen's bet was not too unfair. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and clashed with the demonic brilliant two elders. Now that he thought about it, this was his third time clashing with the two. The first time they clashed, it was just the middle-aged man, yet Xiao Chen was already tired out dealing with him. In the end, he had to use his immortal arts and magic skills as a trump card before he barely managed to escape. There was no chance of victory. The second time they clashed was in the Heavenly Palace's restrictions. Xiao Chen had used the cycle banner and clashed with the two briefly. In that battle, Xiao Chen had used external force to suppress the two, preventing them from getting up. Hence, it could not be considered a true fight. The hemp-robed old man took out his flaming fan, and a fiery cloud spread out for 5 kilometers around his head. It looked very horrifying. He said coldly to Xiao Chen, "Xiao Chen, hand over the primal essence nature pill, and the two of us can spare your life and let you leave the heavenly ruin wasteland." The primal essence nature pill was a king-grade medicinal pill. Mr. Qin had spent his life's effort and failed countless times before barely managing to refine one. Chapter 945. The demonic brilliant two elders had been stuck at their current cultivation for 100 years already. They had exhausted all their potential and could only rely on external items to raise their strength. The demonic brilliant two elders had originally thought that killing Xiao Chen would be a small matter. Who knew not only did Xiao Chen kill Mr. Qin, but he even snatched away the primal essence nature pill. The demonic brilliant two elders had offended the medicine god Valley and lost the primal essence nature pill. Their hatred for Xiao Chen could be easily imagined. The primal essence nature pill? "Sorry, I already ate it," Xiao Chen said without any apology as he smiled faintly. The middle-aged man's eyes widened in shock as he exclaimed, "What? You actually ate it? How can it be? How can you consume a king-grade medicinal pill with your accumulations?" "Whether I ate it or not, you will know after you receive a palm strike from me." Electric light flashed, and purple rings of electric light appeared behind Xiao Chen. The vast and surging law energy did not reveal itself. As soon as he got close to the middle-aged man, he unleashed all of his power, causing the area within 5 kilometers to be filled with a shocking rumble of thunder. It shook the fiery clouds in the sky, causing them to churn endlessly as if they would scatter at any moment. Superior grade martial sage. It looks like you really did consume the primal essence nature pill. However, you are too naive to challenge me with that. Army-killing fist, breaking 1,000 armies. The middle-aged man smiled coldly, and countless heroic spirits came out of the scarlet military mark above his head. 1,000 armies roared and tore through the sky. Although the middle-aged man said that he did not care about Xiao Chen, he did not show any intention of underestimating his punch. This was one of the most tyrannical killing moves of the army-killing fist. The fist and palm clashed, and a crack opened in the ground under the two. Xiao Chen took 100 steps back. With every step he took, thunder roared in the sky. "You dare to be so arrogant with just this bit of ability?" The hemp-robed old man in the air waved his flaming fan and sent out 100 flaming tornadoes. The tornadoes burned the sky, looking like they would swallow up Xiao Chen in an instant. "I don't think I said that I used my full strength." Xiao Chen smiled faintly and spread out the might of the will of thunder. The slightly dim purple wheel of light behind him instantly became dazzling. The rings of light overlapped one another. With a thought, many lightning flood dragons roared out of the rings of light. Only when there were 100 of them did they stop, transforming from a jiao to a dragon. Xiao Chen shouted. The law energy in his body and the purple lightning talisman in his sea of consciousness drained at the fastest speed possible. The 100 lightning flood dragons grew in size, and Jin Lin had 2 horns on his head. Dragon might spread out as they roared and charged at the 100 flaming tornadoes. Bang! Bang! 2 horrifying energies clashed in the air. Chi waves surged into the sky, and lightning and fire turned chaotic. The lightning tribulation saber technique could turn a python into a flood dragon long ago. Now that his will and cultivation had improved significantly, turning a flood dragon into a dragon was only a matter of time. Amid the chaotic clumps of light, The white-robed Xiaochen relied on his strong physical body to charge over and arrive before the hemp-robed old man. Using his body as a saber, Xiaochen materialized the flawless saber Dao. He chopped down from the side like a saber chopping down. Electric light burst out, and a clanging saber hum soared into the clouds. The hemp-robed old man did not expect Xiaochen to arrive so quickly. He hastily condensed a flame shield in front of him. Chi! The flame shield easily broke. Xiaochen chopped down on the hemp-robed old man's body like a saber. The hemp-robed old man was not good at close combat. Xiaochen took advantage of this weakness. Before the middle-aged man arrived, he materialized the flawless 4 seasons: spring saber, summer saber, and autumn saber. Just as the completed winter saber was about to chop down, a loud rumble came from behind. Xiaochen sighed in pity. He could only give up on crippling the hemp-robed old man and turn to face the middle-aged man. Immortal art magic skill, Starry Heaven Storm. The middle-aged man stored up power and charged over ferociously. The heroic spirits in the Scarlet Military Seal came out. Xiaochen could not be bothered to be polite with him, so he sent out an immortal art magic skill. A black starry heaven storm swept out, sweeping away the vast army. Xiaochen smiled coldly and executed the flawless blue dragon, subduing dragon profound slash. This move was a profound martial technique that Xiaochen created after mastering the dragon's subduing slash. It already surpassed the level of a heaven-ranked martial technique. It was not inferior to the Tenjin Emperor's world-eliminating imprint that he used to deal with Diwuk. 18 blue dragons appeared, and azure saber lights that could overturn rivers and seas chopped down continuously. With one chop, blood leaked out of the middle-aged man's lips. He took 3 steps back, and cracks appeared in the Scarlet Military Seal. Ripples spread out in the air like water, shaking the place. Second chop, third chop, fourth chop. After 18 chop, the middle-aged man's corpse did not remain, leaving only a pool of blood mist spreading in the air. The hemp-robed old man felt horrified when he saw this. He put away the flame fan and scattered the killing move that he prepared to unleash. Then he turned and fled. Trying to leave now? It's too late. Cycle banner, set. Xiaochen stretched out his hand, and the cycle banner shot out with boundless starlight. The banner unfurled, and the 7 stars appeared. Starlight descended and encased the hemp-robed old man. Within the starlight, the hemp-robed old man immediately felt the air turn viscous, making it hard for him to move. Xiaochen's figure leaped up, and starlight bathed his body. Instead of slowing down, he increased his speed. In the blink of an eye, he caught up to the hemp-robed old man and shielded him. Back then, when the demonic brilliant 2 elders tried to kill me, you definitely did not expect such a day to come, right? I'll leave this winter saber for you. Snowflakes drifted down and gathered into a crystalline flower. Then, the flower poked out and landed on the hemp-robed old man's forehead. A strong energy pierced through the hemp-robed old man's forehead. As the hemp-robed old man showed a horrified expression, the flower slowly melted. When it completely melted, the hemp-robed old man turned into an ice sculpture. Bang! Boundless saber chi shot out of the hemp-robed old man's body, killing him without a complete corpse. Xiaochen stretched out his hand and grabbed the hemp-robed old man's spatial ring. Then, he put away the cycle banner and slowly descended from the air. Yichen, who was on the ground, wiped off the blood on his saber. 4 headless corpses lay beside him, blood flowing endlessly. Clearly they had just died. Yichen sheathed his saber and smiled. I took advantage of you. Aside from Meng Bai, the rest of the Black Mountain 4 bandits are just trash. How about we consider this a draw? That's fine. Sooner or later, I will make a trip to the heavenly starry ocean. When I retrieve my saber, I will fight with you to determine who is stronger. Xiaochen landed on the ground and handed the spatial ring to Lord Jiu, who appeared. Lord Jiu fiddled with the spatial ring for a long time. Then he smiled and said, "These people really collected a lot of peak spirit veins, a total of 8. Including the spirit veins that we already obtained, we now have 48 peak spirit veins, close to half 100. Yichen smiled and said, "This is a pretty good harvest. However, I don't want the peak spirit veins. I do not lack them. Even if Yi Qin did not lack them, the value of peak spirit veins was still there. By saying this, Yi Qin clearly wanted to leave them for Xiao Chen. Lord Jiao added, I don't want them either. This Lord Jiao's talent is only SOSO. Even if you gave me a holy spirit vein, it would be a waste. Xiao Chen thanked the two and unfurled the freedom wings. Let's go. I believe that the mysterious great grandmaster level martial sage already collected the remaining peak spirit veins. Since we already have such a harvest, there is no need for us to clash with him. Indeed, even if Xiao Chen and Yi Qin work together, they might not even have a 50% chance of defeating a great grandmaster level martial sage. If they could avoid clashing with him, it would be best. Lord Jiao and Yi Qin agreed with Xiao Chen. They also felt that this was the time to leave the heavenly ruin wasteland. The scene before Xiao Chen changed continuously. Soon, the 50 kilometers of demonic flame and the entrance to the heavenly ruin wasteland entered his vision. The scene froze, and Xiao Chen took a step forward. Little friends, you helped this old man collect so many peak spirit veins. Why are you in such a rush to leave? Just as Xiao Chen's foot was about to touch the ground, a bright golden light suddenly appeared in front of him. A gigantic Buddha appeared. Zhuang Jinghe held his palms together and blocked Xiao Chen with a smile. Then he casually threw a palm strike. The folded space slowly unfurled. This palm strike forced Xiao Chen and the other two back, who had already flown hundreds of kilometers. A great grandmaster-level martial sage. Blood leaked out of the mouths of Xiao Chen and the other two. Their hearts sank at the same time. Their expressions turned grave as they looked at Zhuang Jinghe, who gave off a Buddhist light and appeared dignified as he slowly walked over. Lord Jiao recognized this person. His voice trembled as he said, Zhuang Jinghe, ranked 10th on the Primal Chaos Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking. He had a fortuitous encounter in his early years and practiced a Buddhist palm technique. People call him the Blood Monk. There was a huge difference between the Primal Chaos Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking and the Tianwu Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking. The former gathered all the loose cultivators of the world, while the latter was just the loose cultivators of the Tianwu Domain. If the top 10 evil cultivators of the Tianwu Domain went to the Primal Chaos Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking, they would not even rank in the top 100. This was the difference. For Zhuang Jinghe to rank in the top 10 of the Primal Chaos Domain's Evil Cultivator ranking, his strength went without saying. Being able to rank in the top 10 meant that he did not have an undeserved reputation. Otherwise, he would have been killed long ago. Xiao Chen had heard of and seen some Buddhist sect martial techniques. When he fought Long Fei on Dragonwood Star, the other party's Thousand Hands White Bone Dermic incarnation was the predecessor of the Buddhist sect's 10,000 Hands Buddha. Chapter 946. The Iron Demon subduing staff of the Black Mountain Four Bandits leader, Meng Bai, was also a Buddhist sect martial technique that was extremely mighty. The history of the ancient Buddhist sects could be traced back to the Immortal Epic. However, with the destruction of the Immortal Epic, the Buddhist sects had vanished like smoke. Magic skills no longer existed, only some fragmented Buddhist sect martial techniques that had been passed down to the martial epic. Without a complete system, it would be very difficult to gather a complete set of cultivation techniques, and movement techniques. Hence, there were very few Buddhist sect experts in the world. Most of them used them to comprehend and broaden their horizons, supplementing their own martial Tao. However, the Zhuang Jinghe before Xiao Chen seemed somewhat different. The Buddha behind him looked dignified, untainted by dust. It stood upright with a smile as if it had seen through the mundane matters of the mundane world. If not for the indistinct evil aura at the corner of Zhuang Jinghe's lips, Xiao Chen would not have been able to see through it. He would have thought that a Buddha had descended to preach the Tao and deliver all living things from suffering. Zhuang Jinghe smiled and said, Little friends, you are all doing good. You helped this old monk collect so many peak spirit veins. Quickly hand them over to this Buddha, and it will be considered a great deed, sufficient to wash away your sins in the mundane world. Acting all mysterious. My massacre saber Tao exterminates all life. I do not believe in heaven or earth, only me. Even if there are gods and Buddhas, I will destroy them today. Yi Chen's black hair turned red, and he instantly drew his saber. In that instant, 900 scarlet saber lights howled out. These scarlet saber lights contained extremely strong killing chi, close to 100% comprehended saber intent. One saber light could kill countless martial sages. When Yi Chen swung his saber, 900 saber lights formed a huge killing formation. Aggrieved spirits roared in the formation, ghosts and deities roared. Scarlet light filled the sky as it pressed toward Zhuang Jinghe. Zhuang Jinghe smiled and said, "This Buddha tried to reason with you and gave you beneficence, but you rejected it. In that case, this Buddha can only start a massacre to wash away your sins. Buddhist light illuminates the world." Zhuang Jinghe pressed his palms together again, and the Buddha behind him chanted a Buddhist name. Then, he formed a hand seal with his left hand and pointed his right hand forward. The golden light on the Buddha's body faded and turned into a blood-red Buddha's light. The Buddha's amiable face also turned completely evil, overflowing with murderous intent. Scarlet Bodhi flowers flew out of the scarlet Buddhist light. When this Buddhist light shone on Yi Chen's killing saber formation, it started circulating intensely. 900 saber chi spun continuously, blocking the spreading Buddhist light. However, the blood-colored Bodhi flowers continued to appear and disappear endlessly. Yi Chen's killing saber formation came with a ferocious momentum, making ghosts and gods cry. However, under the boundless Buddhist light, the saber formation was slowly whittled down. In the end, it even assimilated into the Buddhist light. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He unfurled the freedom wings and carried Lord Jiao and Yi Chen back at the same time. Wherever the blood-colored Buddhist light passed, Bodhi trees grew on the ground. Under the Bodhi trees, there seemed to be Buddhas preaching, celestials playing music, and bodhisattvas standing with their palms pressed together. This should have been a scene filled with benevolence and virtue. However, what appeared in this blood-colored Buddhist light was extremely strange. Zhuang Jinghe smiled faintly and took a step forward, passing through the various mysterious phenomena. Then he landed before the three again, preventing them from leaving. The blood-colored Bodhi tree behind Zhuang Jinghe suddenly shattered. Not a single blade of grass grew on the ground. There was no sign of life at all, turning into a pile of dead soil. The lifeless color startled Xiao Chen, Lord Jiao, and Lord Jiao. If this Buddhist light struck the three, they would not even know how they died. Buddha is merciful. This Buddha is virtuous. Hand over the spirit vein and follow me to the heavenly starry ocean to establish a sect. Then this Buddha can spare you from death. Zhuang Jinghe walked over with a smile. At this moment, the Buddha behind him looked as horrifying as it could be in the eyes of Xiao Chen, Lord Jiao, and Lord Jiao. Xiao Chen, what should we do? None of the top 10 of the Primal Chaos Domain's evil cultivator ranking are simple characters. This Zhuang Jinghe even managed to escape from the hands of the blue-robed emperor several times, Lord Jiao said in a trembling voice. Yi Chen sent a voice projection, "Xiao Chen, why don't you agree to him first? When we go to the heavenly starry ocean, I guarantee that this fellow will die a miserable death." "No, you two go first. I can tell that something is suspicious. We will meet up outside." Before the two could deny it, Xiao Chen stepped forward and said with a smile, "There is no reason for me, Xiao Chen, to take away the things that are in my, Xiao Chen's, hands. Look at you, evil Buddha. You have killed so many people, yet you still want to establish a sect. I will destroy this Buddha image of yours." Then, Xiao Chen opened his forehead and unleashed the will of thunder. The purple talisman gave off a divine light as it charged at the Buddha image behind Zhuang Jinghe like lightning. When Zhuang Jinghe heard the words, "Xiao Chen," he said in understanding, "So, you are Xiao Chen. You have been in the limelight recently. However, with just a measly 40% comprehended will of thunder, you dare to break my dermic incarnation? You underestimate this Buddha too much." When Zhuang Jinghe threw a palm strike, he split his attention into two tasks at the same time. The Buddha image behind him sent out two palm imprints at the departing Yi Chen and Lord Jiao. A palm imprint clashed with the purple lightning talisman flying over. Zhuang Zhenghe clenched his fist, and a scarlet Buddhist light appeared as if he wanted to crush the talisman. However, contrary to Zhuang Zhenghe's expectations, the talisman gave off an immortal divine light. No matter how much force he used, there was always a clump of light that would not be extinguished. Xiao Qin shouted, and the talisman broke the palm imprint. Then, it flew towards the Buddha image behind him like a meteor and entered the Buddha's gaping mouth. Horrifying lightning exploded in the Buddha's mouth, and the Buddha image's head immediately exploded. Scarlet light filled the air. After the Buddha image landed, a scarlet Bodhi tree sprouted, instantly sweeping away all the life force in the surroundings. The area within 5 kilometers immediately turned into a land of death. Not a single blade of grass grew, and withered trees piled up. Zhuang Zhenghe revealed a pained expression. The Buddha image that attacked Yi Chen and Lord Jiu broke on its own, and the two took advantage of the opportunity to flee. This old man will eat you alive. The headless Buddha image gave off a scarlet light, and its head slowly grew once more. Zhuang Zhenghe was thoroughly enraged. He stomped the ground, and the sky and earth shook. Even space trembled. Buddha moves mountains and rivers. Zhuang Zhenghe leaped up and threw a palm strike at Xiao Qin. This palm strike was boundlessly tyrannical and extremely ferocious, sweeping through everything in its path. When the gigantic palm landed, it enveloped the area, stirring up mountains and rivers, moving mountains and draining seas. Great Grandmaster-level martial sage. This was the strength of a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. One palm strike could shake mountains and rivers. The will of thunder returned to Xiao Chen's body. Then he entered deep thought. If it were the complete Buddha image, he would not be able to block this palm strike. However, the Buddha image is already broken. If I use 10 Dragon Force, it should be enough to block this strike. Myriad Heaven Divine Fist, 10-fold combat prowess, deities descending. 10 indistinct ancient heaven dragons appeared behind Xiao Qin. Divine light entered his body, and 10 dragon force merged into one. When he punched, the 10 dragons roared ferociously. The instant the fist and palm collided, the ground within a radius of 10 li cracked open. Countless rocks and soil the size of hills shot into the sky, covering the sun in the sky. Everyone in the entire heavenly ruin wasteland felt this berserk energy. No matter where they were, they all looked over. A Buddhist Dharmic incarnation. This is the bloody monk, Zhuang Zhenghe. Why is this old fellow still here? Didn't he leave after losing the fight for the beautiful mountain and river painting? Who is he fighting? Is it also a great Grandmaster-level martial sage? That's not right. 10 dragon roars. This seems to be white-robed Xiao Chen's killing move. Back then, he used this move to send Di Wuk flying in front of everyone. The cultivators remaining in the heavenly ruin wasteland could not help but become excited. The people of the Frost Moon Palace and the Heavenly Music Sect were looking for him everywhere. Unexpectedly, he fought with a great Grandmaster-level martial sage. The clash between 10 Dragon Force and the Buddha moves mountains and river caused the ground to crumble. The destructive power was even greater than the battle between Xiao Qin and Di Wuk. This was because both of their moves were wide open and extremely violent. Not only did Zhuang Zhenghe fail to kill Xiao Qin with a palm strike, but Xiao Qin even blocked it. Zhuang Zhenghe was very surprised. The Buddha head behind him was still slowly recovering. This was Zhuang Zhenghe's Dharmic incarnation, a Buddhist cultivation technique he cultivated. He used his will to form this Dharmic incarnation. Injuring the Dharmic incarnation was equivalent to injuring his foundation. Due to his carelessness, Xiao Qin injured the source of his will. How could Zhuang Zhenghe not be angry? Zhuang Zhenghe roared furiously. His roar reverberated endlessly in the scarlet Buddhist light. It was like the roar of a Buddhist guardian deity, supported by Buddhist music. Rings of scarlet Buddhist light behind the great Buddha amplified this roar continuously. 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, and so on. This roar spread throughout half of the heavenly ruin wasteland. Several cultivators rushing over to watch the battle from afar were shaken and fell from the sky, severely injured. The sea of bitterness is boundless. Repent, and the shore is at hand. Lay down the butcher's knife and become a Buddha. This roar was supported by thousands of layers of Buddhist light, forming 2 lines of the 8-word proverb. It was a sound wave attack as well as a mental enticement and trap. This was an extremely profound Buddhist sect secret technique. Those with weak cultivations would directly give up on resisting, allowing the Buddhist music to strike and shatter them into dust. Even if they were destroyed, they would still feel gratitude. The sayings of the Buddhist sects were originally very wise and kind. However, Zhuangzhenghe's roar was filled with killing qi, making these words sound like demonic music. Before the Buddhist music arrived, all sorts of illusions appeared in Xiao Chen's mind. These were all the suffering he had suffered along the way. These illusions made Xiao Chen empathize with them, making him experience all sorts of suffering again. However, Xiao Chen's heart was tough. His mental state had already reached a perfect and flawless state. He had already experienced all sorts of suffering. What was the point of experiencing it again? Before reaching the peak, there was no turning back. As long as there were thieves and evildoers, the butcher's knife would not stop. Xiao Chen's eyes turned clear as he silently executed the dragon tone art. Auspicious clouds covered the surrounding 5 kilometers. The blue dragon king peeked its head out. As Xiao Chen roared, it clashed with Zhuangzhenghe's scarlet Buddhist music. The two were separated by 5 kilometers. The battlefield was vast and boundless. As the sounds clashed, heaven and earth trembled. The huge pieces of soil floating in the air shattered into dust. Several cultivators who heard the commotion stood on a distant mound and watched, not daring to get close. When they saw that it really was Xiao Chen fighting with Zhuangzhenghe, they were flabbergasted. It really is Xiao Chen. Based on the situation, he exchanged at least 2 moves with Zhuangzhenghe. 2 moves. Zhuangzhenghe is a famous loose cultivator. To think that he could not smash Xiao Chen to death with 1 palm strike. Xiao Chen's dragon tone art is becoming increasingly horrifying. Zhuangzhenghe's Buddhist music once killed more than 100 martial sages in 1 breath, crippling a rank 8 sect. Chapter 947. However, Xiao Chen is definitely not a match for Zhuangzhenghe. The Heavenly Music Sect and the Frost Moon Palace both issued orders to kill Xiao Chen. Di Wuk also promised many benefits. He will definitely flee to the outside of the Heavenly Ruin. If we stand guard at the exit, we might be able to take advantage of him. After the shock, this group of people immediately started thinking. For Xiao Chen to be able to block 2 of Zhuangzhenghe's moves head-on was already very incredible. However, defeating Zhuangzhenghe would be impossible. At that time, Xiao Chen would definitely have to leave the Heavenly Ruin wasteland after getting injured. This was a good opportunity to wait for him. Immediately, several people left quietly, preparing to call their friends over to kill Xiao Chen. Several people from the Frost Moon Palace and the Heavenly Music Sect quickly left to report the news of Xiao Chen's appearance. Unexpectedly, Xiao Chen managed to block the Buddhist scripture. Zhuangzhenghe's expression turned completely sullen. He shouted a war cry and prepared to execute his killing move again. Who knew, not only did Xiao Chen not take advantage of the moment he blocked the Buddhist scripture to flee, but he even made the first move. A blazing sun illuminated the sky. An ancient Yang character descended from the sky, looking as dazzling as the sun and carrying boundless solar true flame. Then, it landed on the huge Buddha behind Zhuangzhenghe. Immediately, the flame blazed fiercely. The huge Buddha head that just grew out let out a pained wail. The dignified Dharmic incarnation instantly shattered. Xiao Chen immediately felt the pressure from Zhuangzhenghe's aura vanish. His heart skipped a beat. It looked like he had guessed correctly. Most of the other party's strength came from this Dharmic incarnation. As long as Xiao Chen attacked the Dharmic incarnation, he would be able to injure it, preventing it from paying attention to him. Unfortunately, Xiao Chen's magic energy was insufficient. Otherwise, his Great Sun incantation could refine this evil Buddha's Dharmic incarnation without a problem. Right now, his Great Sun incantation could only cause the other party some trouble. Moving his hands, Xiao Chen did not hesitate to send out a starry heaven storm. He moved 9 stars in 1 breath and pushed them together, forming an extremely intense black storm. After that, without waiting to see what the result was, Xiao Qin unfurled the freedom wings and activated the magic skill, so close yet worlds apart. With one step, he crossed hundreds of kilometers and arrived before the heavenly ruin wasteland. Looking at the 50 kilometers of demonic flame before him, Xiao Qin heaved a sigh of relief. It looked like Zhuang Jinghe was indeed in some trouble. Otherwise, he would not have had the chance to execute this magic skill. Xiao Qin took a large step forward and fearlessly walked into the 50 kilometers of demonic flames. If he had not taken care of Xing Qingyun before coming, he would not have had to worry too much about these surging demonic flames. Now that his strength had soared and he had nothing to worry about, he naturally didn't have to wait for a special time to enter and exit freely. Inside the 50 kilometers of demonic flame, Xiao Qin recovered his magic energy as he thought about the earlier battle with Zhuang Jinghe. The more he thought about it, the more afraid he became. If he stayed for another 10 moves, he would definitely die. There was still an insurmountable gap between him and this kind of great grandmaster. It would be difficult for him to contend against him in a short period of time. Now that Xiao Qin thought about it, back then, when Di Wuk and Tian Yushi worked together, they could contend against great grandmaster martial sages. It looked like Xiao Qin had gotten lucky when he sent Di Wuk flying with one punch. Xiao Qin could summon out the image of the divine kingdom at any time. Actually, he was undefeatable. The images of Yao Chen's profound river mirror and Di Wuk's divine kingdom, 2 emperor-grade secret treasures, put Xiao Qin in a sorry state. If Xiao Qin could summon out the image of an emperor-grade secret treasure, he would not be so passive. Xiao Chen's thoughts wandered, and he could not help thinking about the Blue Dragon Palace sealed by the space-time formation in the savage battlefield. However, Xiao Qin only thought about it. Back then, the old man from the Blue Dragon Palace's item spirit had said that before he advanced to Martial Emperor, he could forget about entering the second floor. Without Ao Jiao's help, Xiao Qin would not be able to enter the space-time formation that even Emperor Wu could block. By the time Xiao Qin recovered most of his magic energy, the entrance to the heavenly ruin wasteland was already before him. Without hesitation, Xiao Qin took a large stride forward. Xiao Qin had nearly 50 peak spirit veins on him, and a great grandmaster martial sage was eyeing him. How could he dare to remain in the heavenly ruin wasteland? The moment Xiao Qin stepped out, before he could even take a breath of fresh air, he was shocked by the formation outside. A group of cultivators in the sky and on the ground guarded the exit of the heavenly ruin wasteland with surging killing chi. A rough count gave at least 100 people. From ordinary martial sages to grandmaster-level martial sages, Xiao Qin checked with his spiritual sense and saw many martial sages rushing over. Fortunately, there were no great grandmaster-level martial sages here. There were also not many experts from the Heavenly Music Sect and the Frost Moon Palace. They probably just received the news and had not rushed over yet. The instant Xiao Qin appeared, he felt a boundless killing intent lock onto him. However, no one dared to make the first move. He was injured by Zhuang Jinghe and is now severely injured. He is just a fat sheep waiting to be slaughtered. Everyone, don't be afraid. Attack together, someone shouted. Xiao Qin frowned. He immediately figured out the reason. News of his fight with Zhuang Jinghe must have spread. This group of people must be here to take advantage of him. However, they had seen Xiao Qin's strength. First, he knocked away Di Wuk. Then, he exchanged a few moves with Zhuang Jinghe. Hence, they did not dare to act rashly. Xiao Qin could not let them work together. Otherwise, with so many martial sages, they could exhaust him to death. He had to shock them with one move. After making up his mind, right after the person who spoke, Xiao Qin's white robes fluttered, and electric light flashed under his feet. Xiao Qin instantly executed his strongest killing move, Flawless Blue Dragon Subduing Dragon Profound Slash. The blue dragon spiraled out, roaring endlessly. The sound of sabers rang out endlessly. 18 azure saber lights soared into the sky. Each saber light was 500 kilometers long, containing the power to slay dragons. They looked unparalleled and sharp. The appearance of the first saber light caused a boundless saber hum to resound in the surroundings. Chop, chop, With 3 saber strikes, this person's secret treasure, protective quintessence, and treasure armor all shattered. By the time the 18th saber strike landed, not even a mist of blood remained in the air. The surroundings were shocked. No one made a sound. Xiao Qun chopped down a grandmaster-level martial sage just like that. He did not even have a chance to resist. The shock waves of the saber lights spread out, and a gap appeared in the densely packed encirclement. No one dared to step forward and patch up the gap. Xiao Qun did not say a word. He looked coldly at this group of people and calmly walked out. First, he knocked away Di Wuk with one punch. Then he exchanged a few moves with Zhuang Jinghe before leaving easily. White-robed Xiao Qun has truly matured. It will be difficult for the lands of the 3 holy masters to kill others with a borrowed knife. The king conferral ceremony half a year from now will definitely be very lively. I wonder what the 3 holy masters will think? What will the major factions that Xiao Qun slapped their faces say? After a long time, soft sighs could be heard from the crowd. A ferocious roar came from the exit of the heavenly ruin wasteland, reverberating in all directions. The bloody monk is coming out. A scarlet Buddhist light and a ferocious Buddhist chant. Everyone was very familiar with this aura, so they quickly scattered. A scarlet light flashed, and Zhuang Jinghe walked out with a sullen expression. When he looked around and saw that the surroundings were filled with people, the rage in his heart ignited. He said angrily, "Scram! Bunch of trash. Are you all waiting to see this old man make a fool of himself? If you still don't scram, this Buddha will swallow you all up." With Zhuang Jinghe's rage, the group of primal chaos domain cultivators preparing to ambush Xiao Qun did not dare to remain. They all scattered. Based on Zhuang Jinghe's temper, it was hard not to guess that he had suffered greatly at the hands of Xiao Qun. Otherwise, given his status, there was no need for him to lose his composure. With a flip of his hand, Zhuang Jinghe took out the armillary sphere. Disappointment flashed in his eyes as he said, "Bastard!" He ran so far away in one go. To think that he exceeded the distance and could no longer sense it. 50 peak spirit veins flew away just like that. I will settle this debt later. A palace slowly flew over in the sky. The Frost Moon Palace's Xiao Qinghan and the heavenly music sect's Xia Dongyang stood side by side. As they watched the disgruntled Zhuang Jinghe leave, their expressions turned grave. "Dongyang, how many moves can you last against Zhuang Jinghe?" Xia Dongyang replied sullenly, "After using all my trump cards, I can last 3 moves. However, I will also be half dead. I probably won't be able to fight for half a month." Xiao Qinghan sighed. The white-robed King Xiao Qun has truly matured. Now that he is gone, it will be difficult to kill him in the future. If he succeeds in being conferred king, no one will be able to stop his rise. Don't worry. Di Wuk will not let him succeed in being conferred king. Ah, that's true. This time he really drove Di Wuk into a corner. The king conferral ceremony half a year from now will probably be very lively. Indeed, it will be very lively. However, I wonder who will be the main character in that excitement. After Xiao Qun left the heavenly ruin wasteland, he unfurled the freedom wings and activated the magic skill, so close yet worlds apart. After he landed in a forest, he started to wait. Half a day later, the ground rumbled, and 2 figures leaped out. The people Xiao Qun was waiting for had finally arrived. Naturally, these 2 were Lord Jiu and Yi Qin. Lord Jiu laughed loudly and said, "To think that you really managed to escape from Zhuang Jinghe's hands. If this news spreads, it will be even more shocking than when you sent Di Wuk flying." Xiao Qun smiled faintly and said, "I was lucky. I just gambled correctly. What are the 2 of you planning to do after this?" After coming to the Kunlun continent, I already met the 2 people I wanted to meet the most. The difference is very clear. I am too ashamed to remain here. When I return to the heavenly starry ocean, I will train properly and see if I can find Yan Shisan again, Yi Qin said casually with a faint smile. Yi Qin smiled faintly as he spoke casually. The 2 people he spoke of were clearly Di Wuk and Xiao Qun. Before Xiao Qun came, he had set his sights high. He thought that these 2 people only had an undeserved reputation. Now, he no longer dared to think that way. As for Yen Shisan, Xiaochen had gained a lot from the cycle banner's chi of massacre, death, and ruin. Now, he was confident of fighting Yen Shisan again. Lord Jiu chuckled and said, "What is there to be embarrassed about? After you return to the heavenly starry ocean, I guarantee that your reputation will soar. The divine daughter's chest is not something that just anyone would dare to touch." Ha! Hearing Lord Jiu mention this, Xiaochen could not help laughing. Yi Chen coughed awkwardly and performed a cupped fist salute. "I'll take my leave first. We will meet again in the future. I wish Brother Xiao success in being conferred king in advance. I will prepare some small gifts for you. We will meet again in the future." After sending off Yi Chen, Xiaochen looked at the shifty-eyed Lord Jiu and asked, "Lord Jiu, what are your plans?" This Lord Jiu struck it rich this time. "Naturally, I have to deal with the resources on hand first. Goodbye. If there is an opportunity in the future, let's work together again." Chapter 948. After watching Lord Jiu leave, Xiaochen sighed to himself, how unfortunate. After he was conferred king, he would have his own territory. At that time, he would definitely need manpower. Without a doubt, Lord Jiu was a talent. Lord Jiu had an understanding of all sorts of treasures, a miraculous skill at digging holes, and an ability to sense all sorts of restrictions. Unfortunately, after parting here, they might never meet again. Whoosh, whoosh. A strong wind blew, and Lord Jiu rushed back in a rush. He smiled awkwardly and said, "Speaking of which, young Master Xiao, do you have any connections? It is not easy to sell these things." The spatial rings in Lord Jiu's hands were all black goods. If there were few of them, it would not have mattered. He could just find an auction house and throw them away. However, there were also many collections of Grandmaster-level martial sages. When added together, the number would be somewhat horrifying. It would be hard for Grandmaster-level martial sages to have some power behind them. If Lord Jiu really investigated them, it would be questionable whether he could sell them or not. Of course, there were also specialized black markets to deal with these black goods. However, the prices would be extremely low. Naturally, Lord Jiu would not agree. Xiaochen thought for a while. He should be able to use Ying Qiong's connections in the Flourishing Heaven Pavilion. To her, this would be a small matter. "I have some connections. I can guarantee that I will not make a loss." Lord Jiu smiled and said, "In that case, good. Let's travel together for now. After all, I am just an idle person. I am not in a rush." The Haotian sect was very far from the primal chaos domain. However, with the transportation formation and Xiao Chen's freedom wings, it did not take long for them to travel. 7 days later, the majestic silhouette of Haotian City appeared before Xiao Chen and Lord Jiu. Xiao Chen took out a medallion and handed it to Lord Jiu, telling him to head to the independent mountain that the Haotian sect had given him outside the city. Xiao Chen had something to discuss with First Elder Han Qinghe as soon as possible to figure out the truth behind the king conferral ceremony. Along the way, gazes fell on him from time to time, followed by whispers. Xiao Chen was no stranger to these things. His reputation was almost on par with Diwuk's, and in half a year's time, he would be titled Blue Dragon King. Now, he treated these inner and outer disciples of the Haotian sect the same way he treated his senior sister Shui Lingling when he came out of Kunlun. After checking his token, under the respectful gazes of the city gate disciples, Xiao Chen entered the city. Suddenly, Xiao Chen saw a young disciple wearing only underwear on the streets of the city. This disciple covered his face as he rushed past him, startling him. Did the disciples of the Haotian sect become so bold and unrestrained after a period of absence? Someone's in trouble again. It's really not easy to accept this top inner disciple mission. How many has it been? It's almost 100. I really don't know how such a monstrous person managed to keep the Haotian sect occupied. I heard that the elders of the mission office are considering raising the rank of the mission to a higher level so that the true inheritors can take it. That can't be. Are the true inheritors going to deal with someone who barely reached half-sage? There's no helping it. The person who just ran out is already in the top 10 of the inner disciples. The surrounding discussions entered Xiao Chen's ears. Suddenly, he had a premonition. He turned to the person beside him and said, "Junior brother, can you tell me what happened earlier in detail?" That person did not seem to recognize Xiaoqin. He smiled and said, "Judging from senior brother's appearance, you should not be in the sect for some time." "I went out 2 months ago." That disciple came to a realization. No wonder. It happened a month ago, but now, everyone in the inner disciples knows about it. A month ago, a fatso showed up outside the sect. He said that he was senior brother Xiaoqin's friend from the lower realm. He came to collect his debt after being tricked by Xiaoqin. His tone was ridiculously arrogant, demanding for our sect master to meet him. Xiaoqin's lips twitched. There was no doubt about it. The person who came was indeed that fatso, Kim Taeho. Think about it. How could the sect master possibly meet him? He had no proof, and the elders could not be bothered to meet him. He wandered around the city gates a few times, and for some reason he got into an argument with the sect disciples. Then that disciple was too embarrassed to continue. However, Xiaoqin asked, "What happened after that?" "Let's not talk about it. That fatso is very sinister. He lured a few disciples out of the sect. Our sect's disciples were not strong enough. They all returned in their underwear, robbed until nothing was left. They did not mention anything about what happened." Xiaoqin could guess what happened after that. With Kim Taeho's actions, he would definitely be included in the Haotian sect's list of targets to be captured. However, based on the current situation, it seemed like Kim Taeho had gotten addicted to robbing people, returning to his old trade in the Sky Dome realm. "I have to find him. Right now, this mess is not big and can be covered up." After thinking for a while, Xiaoqin immediately turned around and flew out. Kim Taeho's sudden appearance forced Xiaoqin to temporarily stop thinking about meeting Elder Han. Back in the Sky Dome realm, Xiaoqin had tossed an astral coin to Xiaoqin, saying that it could buy a supreme treasure of a rank 8 sect. The scam incident that Fatty was talking about was definitely referring to this. Xiaoqin originally thought that Kim Taeho would not be able to go to the Kunlun realm and that this matter would not be exposed. Unexpectedly, not only did Kim Taeho go to the Kunlun realm, but he even came to the Haotian sect and caused so much trouble for Xiaoqin. Wherever Fatso went, he would not let others rest easy. He was as flirtatious as ever. It was not difficult to find Kim Taeho. Occasionally, this fellow would reveal himself to attract some inner sect disciples. Seeing Xiaoqin's swollen figure and the air of a rich landlord, there would always be some inner sect disciples who did not believe in him. They felt that they could capture this fatso and complete the mission to obtain the reward. However, Xiaoqin still found this somewhat strange. The quality of the inner sect disciples of the Haotian sect was several times higher than when Xiaoqin first arrived. As for true inheritors, they were even more incredible. The threshold was incredibly high. The first requirement was to be a martial sage. Even so, the number of true inheritors continued to increase. Now that Fatso had come from the Sky Dome realm, Xiaoqin estimated that he was at most a half-sage. How come none of the inner sect disciples could capture him? The difference between the half-sages of the Kunlun realm and the half-sages of the Sky Dome realm was huge. There should not be any problems with killing Fatso easily. After walking around the city and asking around, Xiaoqin found some clues. The moment Kim Taeho appeared in a small town in the west of the city, 4 of the top 10 inner sect disciples rushed over together, swearing to capture this perverted demon. The busybody already started a bet on whether these 4 would return in their underwear or not. Xiaoqin smiled helplessly. This fatso was really going overboard. If Xiaoqin had not rushed back in time, the true inheritors or the sect master would have made a move. At that time, there would have been no way to resolve the situation. After arriving at the small town 50 kilometers west of the city, Xiaoqin extended out his spiritual sense. The surrounding 50 kilometers instantly entered his mind. Many faces quickly flashed in his mind. He is really cautious. After traveling 50 kilometers, Xiaoqin did not see Kim Taeho's figure. Then he leaped into the air and flew another 50 kilometers before continuing his search. He did this 4 times until he was 200 kilometers away. However, Xiaoqin still did not find Fatso's figure. Strange. After I received the news, I took action. Given Kim Taeho's strength, 250 kilometers should be his limit. Xiao Chen started thinking. He felt that he had missed something. After a while, inspiration flashed in his mind, and he thought of something. The disciples who were stripped down to their underwear would always appear in the inner city at the first moment, covering their faces and fleeing. If Fatso had committed the crime from a few hundred kilometers away, these people would first appear in a small town nearby and not in Haotian City. Fatso is really bold. After figuring this out, Xiao Chen immediately turned back. When he was near the east gate of Haotian City, he extended his spiritual sense far away and saw Kim Taeho's figure in a mountain range 5 kilometers away. Xiao Chen could not help but admire Kim Taeho's courage. He actually chose to commit the crime in a place so close to Haotian City. Not many people would have thought of this. The disciples who were stripped down to their underwear would definitely be too embarrassed to speak about their experiences. Kim Taeho was indeed outstanding for being able to roam freely under the Haotian sect for such a long time. In the scene captured by Xiao Chen's spiritual sense, he saw 4 inner disciples lying on the ground in shame after being beaten up by Kim Taeho. They were only wearing their underwear. Thank you, seniors. Feel free to exchange pointers with me at any time. Bring more spirit stones and astral coins. There is no need to bring these broken secret treasures. How embarrassing. This fat lord feels ashamed for you all. Kim Taeho chuckled as he leaned on the coffin board at the side and fanned himself with a golden folding fan. Xiao Chen's entire body shone with jewels. The rings on his hands, the shoes on his feet, the jade pendant on his neck, and the luxurious clothes he wore were actually a complete set of peak sage grade secret treasures. The 4 got up and left in sorry states. Since Fatso let them in, how could they dare to remain? How poor. The inner disciples of the Haotian sect are not very wealthy. This fat lord has not even seen a king-grade secret treasure. Kim Taeho sighed as he tidied up the spatial rings of the 4. His chubby face filled with melancholy. Just at this moment, the space in front of Xiao Chen suddenly turned hazy and folded. A blurry figure approached from afar, slowly becoming clearer. You are seeking death. You even dare to sneak attack this fat lord. I will slap you to death with this. Fatso's expression turned grave. Then he moved his hands and feet nimbly, unlike his bloated figure. He picked up the coffin board at the side and ferociously swung it. Under the fatty's control, the golden coffin lid shone with a dazzling brilliance, dazzling to the eyes. When Xiao Chen swung it, the world rumbled. How did it look like a coffin board? It clearly looked like a mountain peak in his hand. But, unexpectedly, the coffin board, which had worked every time, was blocked by someone without budging at all. This greatly startled Fatso. He quickly retracted the coffin board and tossed it to his feet, preparing to flee on it. Xiao Chen swung his somewhat sore arm. He finally understood why the inner sect disciples could not do anything to Fatso. If Xiao Chen had not used his vital qi as he pleased, he would have achieved 1 dragon force. If he had been careless, Kim Taeho's coffin board would have slammed him back 50 kilometers. Seeing Da Bao riding the coffin board, the space in front of him also folded. Xiao Chen quickly called out, "Brother Da Bao, stop." Chapter 949. Hearing a familiar voice, Kim Taeho, who was preparing to ride on his coffin board, immediately turned around. He saw that the person was indeed Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen carried the coffin board on his shoulder and said with a smile, "Brother Xiao, oh, Brother Xiao, this fat lord has really been tricked by you this time. Now, I have to rely on robbing others for a living. My days are worse than death. Even my waistline has gotten thinner." Worse than death? That person you plucked until he was only left with his underwear would probably die from anger if he heard this. As for his waistline, Xiao Chen could not see any changes. However, he felt guilty in his heart. At this moment, he could not get angry at Fatso. He smiled and said, "I was wrong in this matter. Come, let's go to my mountain. I will do my best as a host and take good care of you." "Hurry up. This fat lord has been living in the deep mountains and forests for the past month. I don't even know how many mosquitoes I fed. Let's go. Kim Tae-ho did not stand on ceremony at all, urging Xiao Chen to leave quickly. Your title is not very useful. This fat lord said that I was an old acquaintance of yours, but no one paid any attention to me. Finally, a female disciple summoned me, and I, this fat lord, said a few words and was chased out. Kim Tae-ho complained, feeling very upset as he carried the coffin board. Xiao Chen looked at Kim Tae-ho's getup. He was covered in jewels and treasures, looking very vulgar. Furthermore, he was carrying a coffin board. It would be strange if anyone believed him. However, Xiao Chen was very curious about who received this fat lord. With this fat lord's appearance, it was hard to imagine a female disciple receiving him. What did you say? Someone chased you out? Kim Tae-ho said, feeling wronged. This fat lord is filled with righteousness. My heart is as clear as the moon. What could I say? That person introduced herself as Xue Lingling. I casually said that this girl is really pretty, with white skin and tender flesh. Just squeezing her would make her look like water. Tell me, was this fat lord wronged? Before I finished praising her, she chased me out with a palm strike. The looks in the eyes of the male disciples in the hall, just thinking about it makes me scared. Xiao Chen is speechless and speechless. Xue Lingling has accumulated her prestige in the Haotian sect for more than 10 years. She is like a legendary fairy. It could be described as a miracle that Fatso could walk out alive after saying these words. Why aren't you saying anything? Haven't I been wronged enough? What can I say? It's good enough that you're able to walk out alive. Xiao Chen said helplessly, injustice, it really is injustice. On the way down the mountain, Fatso poured out his grievances. Thousands of words converged into one sentence, which was that he had been tricked by Xiao Chen. After coming to the Kunlun realm, life was worse than death. He had all sorts of bad luck. Even when he went to plunder, all he met were poor people. Xiao Chen suddenly said, how about I send you back now? Fatso fanned himself with his folding fan and smiled embarrassedly. Let's talk about it later. That, thinking about it, suffering a little is nothing. At the very least, this fat lord's waistline has shrunk. Indeed, Xiao Chen smiled to himself. He knew that Kim Tae-ho was like this. The two chatted along the way. When they reached the foot of the mountain, Xiao Chen frowned slightly and stopped. There was something wrong with the atmosphere nearby. Kim Tae-ho noticed it as well. He quietly lowered the coffin lid on his shoulder and cautiously looked around. Damn you, Fatso. I finally caught you. Let's see where you can run to this time. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 5 or 6 people leaped down from all directions and surrounded Xiao Chen and Kim Tae-ho. All of them had strong auras and the golden identity medallions at their waists signifying that they were true inheritors. The weakest of these people was an inferior grade martial sage. The leader was a peak martial sage. Xiao Chen raised his eyebrows and smiled faintly. The person who spoke was actually an old friend. When Xiao Chen first entered the Haotian sect, this was the lower realm genius who had mocked him several times, Gui Wu. After not seeing Gui Wu for a few years, Gui Wu had become a true inheritor as well. His cultivation had also reached medial grade martial sage. In this great age, he could barely be considered a third-rate genius. I have already captured this person. Junior brothers, please return, Xiao Chen said casually. Xiao Chen asked casually. Given Xiao Chen's current status and strength, he did not care about Gui Wu at all. Clearly, Gui Wu had not expected to run into Xiao Chen here. His body trembled imperceptibly for a moment. However, Gui Wu immediately thought of something and plucked up his courage. He said, Senior brother Xiao, forgive me for not being able to comply. This person is the target of the elders' assembly. Please return him to us. Don't make things difficult for us. Xiao Chen's face sank. He had already given Gui Wu a lot of face with his words, yet the other party was still not tactful. Gui Wu had been observing Xiao Chen's expression. When he saw Xiao Chen's face sink, his heart started thumping heavily for no apparent reason. For no reason at all, his heart started to pound, as if it was going to jump out of his chest at any moment. A few years ago, that white-robed bladesman's cultivation had been weaker than his. Unexpectedly, he had grown to such a level now. Xiao Chen said in a cold voice, "I will not repeat myself. Junior brother Gui, please move aside." When the fatty lord saw this, he felt a strange warmth in his heart. The resentment in his chest lessened significantly. Xiao Chen's words put immense pressure on Gui Wu. However, when he thought of a certain person's promise, he steeled his heart and stepped forward. "Xiao Chen, don't think that you can do whatever you want in the Haotian sect. I'll tell you the truth. This is an order from the ancient race genius, Ren Kongjue, young master Ren. Ren Kongjue is an absolute genius comparable to Di Wuk. Today, you have to hand him over whether you want to or not. Otherwise, if you offend young master Ren, you can forget about holding your king conferral ceremony." Xiao Chen had never heard of Ren Kongjue before. He should be like Lan Xiaobai, an ancient race genius who recently rose up in the starry heaven Silver Lake. However, even if Di Wuk stood before him, Xiao Chen could not be bothered with him. Furthermore, it was someone comparable to Di Wuk. Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "Junior brother Gui, after not seeing each other for a few years, you have forgotten this Xiao Chen's temper. Back then, when the Peak Inner Sect disciples worked together to suppress me, did you ever see me, Xiao Chen, lower my head? Today, you want me to lower my head just because you mention an ancient race genius? You are really becoming more and more naive." Before Gui Wu could reply, Xiao Chen threw a palm strike, and 1,000 purple electric light wheels appeared behind him. Xiao Chen's casual palm strike carried the boundless might of thunder. The sky rumbled, filled with the sound of thunder. Xiao Chen's feet did not move at all as he sent out a palm wind. This casual strike knocked Gui Wu back 1 kilometer. "This palm strike is a lesson for you. If you want him, get Ren Kongjue to come and find me himself." Then, Xiao Chen led Kim Taeho away. Halfway there, Xiao Chen unfurled the freedom wings to avoid running into other trouble. Then he drained his magic energy to activate the magic skill and took a step forward with Kim Taeho. The place where they landed was outside Haotian City, the independent peak that the Haotian sect had given Xiao Chen. A peak spirit vein was suppressed under this peak. Back then, when Xiao Chen helped the Haotian sect take the top spot in the heavenly dew divine lake, the Haotian sect had given him this independent peak as a reward. Naturally, the greatest benefit was the peak spirit vein under this peak. Now, Xiao Chen had close to 50 peak spirit veins, so he did not care about this peak. Fatso sighed when he saw Xiao Chen walk away in a tyrannical manner in front of a true inheritor, moving 50 kilometers with one step. When Lord Jiao heard the commotion on the empty peak, he immediately rushed out. Kim Taeho could not help but shake his head and say, "Xiao Chen, your servant is not good enough. He looks shifty-eyed. This fat lord's eyes can tell with one look that he is not a good person." When Lord Jiao heard that, he immediately raged, "Where did this fatso come from? How is this Lord Jiao not a good person?" Kim Taeho sat down and picked up the teacup on the table. Then he leisurely took a sip and said, "Don't pretend in front of this fat lord. When this fat lord did bad things, you were still in your mother's womb. With just a glance, this fat lord knew what you wanted to do. Do you want to jump up and kick this fat lord now?" Lord Jiao stared blankly. This fatty was right. He really wanted to give him a kick and teach him a lesson. Looking at someone of the same trade? Xiao Chen could not help but smile bitterly. After exchanging a few words of advice, the two calmed down. After Kim Taeho rested for a while, Xiao Chen asked, "Debao, why did you come to the Kunlun realm after abandoning such a large business of the Jin clan? How did you get here?" At this moment, Fatso was no longer in the mood to fool around. He said, "Debao, the Sky Dome realm's Jin clan has already developed to its peak. We can only go up. Being unrivaled is also very lonely. As for how I came up, money can move the heavens. Back then, the Wan clan paid a huge price to send Wan Feng up. Naturally, I have my own way up as well. However, I came to find you not only because of the trivial matter of astral coins. I, Lord Fatty, am not such a heartless person. I won't keep such trivial matters in my heart and not let them go." Xiao Chen could not help feeling curious. He looked at Kim Tae-ho and asked, "What else is there?" Kim Tae-ho took out a long, slender saber from his spatial ring. Then he gently placed it on the table. Xiao Chen's expression immediately changed. He looked at Kim Tae-ho and asked, "Where did you get this saber?" "Don't get agitated. I know this is your lunar shadow saber. About 3 months ago, boundless thunderclouds appeared above Thunder Emperor Valley, attracting all the experts of the Sky Dome realm. They thought that a new immortal thunder was about to be born. Who knew it was this saber that flew out? At that time, Yu made a move and blocked the others, snatching the saber. She handed it to me, telling me to pass it to you when I go to the Kunlun realm. Something seems wrong with this saber." Kim Tae-ho continued as he handed the saber to Xiao Chen. "What's wrong? Take a look and you will know." Xiao Chen received the lunar shadow saber and grasped its hilt. Then he gently tried to pull it out, but he could not. Surprise appeared in Xiao Chen's eyes. He increased his strength and continued to pull. Even when he used 5,000 tons of force, he still could not draw the lunar shadow saber. "This saber is really dead." After a long time, Xiao Chen gave up trying. Boundless sorrow appeared on his face. "It's not that serious. If it were really dead, why would I bring it here for you to see? I already showed it to Su Xiaoxiao. This is her family's specialty. This saber was originally dead. However, it now has some life." Kim Tae-ho's words were shocking, revealing a result that Xiao Chen did not expect. The heavenly craft manor belonged to Su Xiaoxiao's family. The various spirit weapons of the Sky Dome realm were forged by her family. The Soul Slayer bow in Xiao Chen's hand also came from the seniors of the heavenly craft manor. If the other party really came to this conclusion, it was most likely correct. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.